System. From Iron Man, the counteroffensive begins. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226. Careful Thoughts. Sister, how did Luo Wen and Nansen know each other? The Jiang family had old Jiang and old lady Jiang, and ZHU Suoso and Jiang Nansen were also at home. So after Daisy put down her luggage, she went outside to find a cafe and called her own sister. I'm not sure either. Nansen has her own ideas, and she won't tell me many things. Jiang Nansen's mother had been used to the life of a rich lady all her life. Old Jiang gave her living expenses every month, and everything in the family was left to old Jiang. There was an aunt to do the housework, and he was in charge of life. She knew that she couldn't give birth to a son for the Jiang family, and was not liked by the old lady, so she just lived her comfortable life outside every day, playing cards, doing beauty treatments, and shopping. Her contribution to the family was almost nothing. You don't know? She didn't tell you. Why didn't you ask? Besides, she has agreed to work for Luo Wen in his company. How can you, as a mother, not worry at all? Daisy was speechless. She really didn't know what to say to her sister. Alas, there must be something hateful about pitiful people. It is indeed a true saying. Nansen, why do you think Ahem seems to dislike his aunt? They have never met before, and today is just the first time they meet. They didn't even say a few words, not to mention that Ahem's aunt and aunt are still good friends. ZHU Suoso and Jiang Nansen were busy in the kitchen, learning to be self-reliant. This is not about ZHU Suoso, but Jiang Nansen, a rich lady, carrying a huge debt of 50 million. Their family can't still live in a small villa and hire a nanny, which is extremely luxurious, right? I'm not sure, but I just have a feeling. Do you think Luo Wen is a bit like Zhang Anren sometimes? It's not about personality and habits, it should be about experience. They all seem to be the kind of people who have suffered. And Ahem has a low level of education, but now he has such great achievements. Zhang Anren certainly can't compare. It's just that their hearts seem to be more sensitive than ordinary people. Jiang Nansen is a young lady who has never touched women's lives, but she is far from being comparable to ZHU Suoso in terms of delicate thoughts. She is also born with a talent, an intuitive perception of good and evil in people's hearts. He seems to hate people who worship foreigners, and for non-foreigners. I have this feeling when I see the tone of him, Wang Yangsheng, and his aunt on the phone. And Wang Yangsheng and his aunt also owe Luo Wen a little, and are afraid of trying to please Luo Wen. I wonder if you have noticed it? Is that so? Jiang Nansen turned her head, and saw her grandmother sitting in the living room, and her father had returned to the room. She whispered to ZHU Suoso. When ZHU Suoso heard Jiang Nansen's analysis, she also turned her head, and recalled all the details about Luo Wen. He was neither humble nor arrogant, had clear hatred, excellent cooking skills, had a wide range of interests, and was super rich. Well, I can't think about it anymore. The more I think about it, the more confused my mind becomes. ZHU Suoso shook her head repeatedly to calm her thoughts and slow down. At his age, he still cares about the worship of foreigners. Isn't it caused by family misfortune and the living environment he grew up in? Hey, have you noticed that the prices of 2 products on the official website of Xinghuo Technology are 6 times different in China and abroad? Isn't this the best proof? Oh, that's no wonder. Your aunt immigrated abroad. No wonder Ahem doesn't like her. If Wang Yangsheng hadn't retained his nationality, I'm afraid Luo Wen wouldn't even recognize him as his cousin. Luo Wen recruited troops and horses. In addition to Wang Yangsheng and Lilian, there are now 2 more useless ZHU Suoso and Jiang Nansen. But he didn't think he was doing useless work. He never cared whether the company made money or not, or how much it made, because these were not problems at all. A high-tech company should recruit more high-end talents, such as well-known scientists, or leaders in a certain field, but Luo Wen didn't think so. Talent is important, but character is more important than talent. The gap between geniuses and ordinary people cannot be made up by quantity, but shouldn't geniuses with noble character be more worthy of respect? It should be noted that the more talented a traitor is, the greater his harm will be. Instead of coveting his talent, it is better to focus on those who are more worthy of effort. Geniuses are rare, but ordinary people are in the billions. Isn't it a simple truth that quantitative changes lead to qualitative changes? After all, a planet that is not even a level 1 civilization cannot have a genius who can compete with everyone with one person. Unless one of them is selected by the mysterious system like Luo Wen, and then the plugin is turned on. Otherwise, the reconstruction of the world order rules must be done in Luo Wen's way. Time flies, and the years pass by like a shuttle. On September 1st, Xinghuo technology was almost exactly 1 year old since Luo Wen came into this world. The security department, administrative department, logistics department, production department, and technical department, the entire Xinghuo technology park was busy and thriving. Unfortunately, Xinghuo technology, where Luo Wen had the final say, did not hold a press conference or an unveiling ceremony. Suosuo, where is Mr. Luo? Is he in the office? Click, click. Jiang Nansen, in a professional suit, was young and beautiful, with a good figure, and was particularly eye-catching. She had been working at Xinghuo technology for almost 3 months, and had long passed the adaptation period. She could be regarded as one of the founding fathers. Hey, our manager Jiang, why did you come here in person? I just called you and told you, didn't I? ZHU Suoso is Luo Wen's assistant to the chairman, a charming beauty with a level 3 salary, which made the male colleagues who pass by lower their heads and walk past quickly. Who knows if ZHU Suoso will say bad things about them in front of the boss and then make things difficult for them. Don't shout, I'm just an acting manager, and I haven't been promoted yet. Although she is only an acting manager, as a veteran of the design department, Jiang Nansen also keeps in mind the principle of keeping a low profile and doing things in a high profile manner. At this time, she couldn't help but smile sweetly, revealing a pleasing smile. By the way, why did you come to see the boss? He is busy in the laboratory. Tell me if you have anything to do. I can only leave him a message. The boss won't come out himself, so no one can disturb him. The information he handed over to the technical department already has some finished products, so I would like to ask Mr. Luo to take a look in person. After all, this is my first formal job, and I don't want to be unworthy of the position. Although all employees of Spark Technology only moved in on September 1st, all departments of the entire company are fully staffed. The leadership, clerks, operators, and technicians are all from the list listed by Spark for Luo Wen, and then recruited one by the administrative department. The cooperation between Luo Wen and Jingyan Group ended smoothly. There was no celebration banquet or handover ceremony, because Luo Wen didn't like it. The industrial park as a whole presents a 5-pointed star structure. In the middle is the comprehensive building. The administrative department, logistics department, and canteen are basically located inside. The production department, laboratory building, warehouse, and spare building are located in the 5 surrounding corners and connected by corridors. Outside the main building, there are some supporting facilities, and most of the area is green and has outdoor activity space. Chapter 227 Zaomalin. Let me in, do you hear me? I'm looking for ZHU Suosuo, or I'll make you look good. She was sharp-tongued and aggressive. Although she looked beautiful, her mindless behavior of breaking into Spark Technology showed that this young girl's IQ was obviously inversely proportional to her appearance. Miss, this is Spark Technology. No matter who you are looking for, you must have an appointment and get authorization from the security department. Although the woman came in a Maverick supercar and dressed like a rich second generation, compared with their work, they still knew which was more important. Level 1 salary, monthly salary after tax 20,000, 18 salaries a year. Full year of work is level 2 salary, 50,000 a month. Who dares not to strictly implement the company's regulations? And it's the second day of Spark Technology's official entry. The security guards wearing brand new uniforms do not have a fixed gate post, and they do not have any regulations for standing guard. They only need to guard the gate carefully and strictly manage the people entering and leaving during the rotation. It was past 9 o'clock, and it was time for work in all departments. This rich second generation did not have a work card, and there was no pass in the car. How could the 4 gate guards let this rich second generation in? I don't care. ZHU Suoso stole my boyfriend. She must come out and apologize to me in person. Otherwise, I will force my way in. The woman who was shouting was named Zao Mullen. Who was she? This has to mention ZHU Suoso's previous work in Jingayan Group. In order to make money and to learn more from her master Yanke, she participated in the sales of Dangli real estate. The first customer she received was Zihangzu, the air conditioning prince. ZHU Suoso, who is smart, good looking, and a man of temperament, naturally got the attention of Zihangzu, the second generation ancestor. Although ZHU Suoso rejected Zihangzu's pursuit and even left Jingayan Group, Zihangzu had no intention of giving up. He was very patient, sending flowers or gifts every now and then. He adopted this method instead of forcing. Even strangers who didn't know her thought that ZHU Suoso would be successfully won over by Zihangzu sooner or later. But behind the scenes, Zihangzu's biological mother, Zijiayan, the boss of Jali Air Conditioning, chose Zao Mullen. The Zao family and the Z family were deeply bound partners, and the two families also intended to make the relationship between the two sides more unbreakable through marriage. And Zijiayan's requirement for Zihangzu was that she didn't care how he played outside, but if he wanted to get married, no one except Zao Mullen could do it. Buzz, a convertible BMW sports car, hurriedly drove to the gate of Spark Technology. A sturdy fat man jumped out from the passenger seat, as if opening the car door would waste his time. The thin young man sitting in the driver's seat was only 170 centimeters tall, and had a bean sprout-like body shape. He looked listless and wore sunglasses, which still gave people a depressed and sad feeling. Ziohi, hurry up, stop this woman. If she keeps making trouble like this, Suoso will probably ignore me even more. This thin young man who only knew how to loudly order the fat man was probably Zihangzu. But why didn't he do it himself between him and Zao Mullen, but let the fat man stop it instead? Oh, by the way, with his body shape and thin arms and legs, he might not be able to stop this woman with long arms and legs. Zihangzu, you have no conscience. My family likes you so much, and I like you so much too. You are secretly chasing after other women outside. I didn't play with you today, and I didn't play with that little goblin either. Woo. Plop. The fat man hugged Zao Mullen, who was struggling with the security guard, and threw her to the ground. Zao Mullen, who loves beauty by nature, and is a rich girl, is not so easy to get along with. She burst into tears. This. Boom creak. Snap. The 4 security guards stood at attention and saluted, because a Bentley Continental sports car drove in at the door, and there was an automatic sensing identification chip on the car. The handsome young man driving the car was the boss of Spark Technology, who many people outside wanted to see, but could not see. Click. Zhang Zihao, please help me drive the car in. Yes, boss. The security guard's face was flushed, and his eyes were full of fanatical admiration and respect for Luo Wen. Moreover, whether they had their work badges on their clothes, the boss could actually call out his name directly. Which security guard would not be excited and extremely excited? Boss, they suddenly ran over. The woman wanted to go in to find someone, and the other 2 men came to stop her. Well, okay, I get it. You guys continue to work. Yes. Luo Wen waved his hand and asked the security guard to go back to the guard room. After all, it was still very hot to stand outside in September. Didn't you see that the 1 woman and 2 men are sweating on their faces now? What can you do for me? I can also help you call out whoever you want to find, but don't make trouble in front of my company. Your name is Zihangzu. Jili Air Conditioning is your family's company, right? And you, Zao Mullen, the daughter of the Zao Group. Whether it is appearance or momentum, people dare not underestimate him, especially this person is actually the boss of Spark Technology. How can he be so young? Hello, Mr. Luo. My name is Zihangzu. Nice to meet you. Fortunately, Zihangzu is not useless. At least he knows that Spark technology is not something that a small air conditioning company like this can offend. After all, he can still tell which one is more powerful, a company with a market value of over 1 trillion and a company with a market value of tens of billions. Bing, you are the boss of Spark technology. It can't be fake, right? Big breasts and no brains. Girls are beautiful, but their figure shouldn't affect their IQ. The security guard at the door called him boss in person, and she still asked such questions? Zi Hangzhu pulled Zhao Malin over and covered her mouth with his hand. Mr. Luo, please don't be offended. The weather is too hot. She is a little overheated. I will take her back to blow the air conditioner. She will be fine in a while. I don't like to repeat what I have said. Who are you looking for? I can help you call him. Luo Wen is originally a very gentle person and will not easily show his face to others. But what he hates most is that unfamiliar people play tricks on him. Who are we looking for? Zhao Malin. Zhangzhu, of course, does whatever he wants in front of ordinary people and doesn't care about his appearance, but when he stands in front of more powerful people, he is also silent, a little timid, and at a loss. Not to mention that this Mr. Luo, compared with his mother's momentum, one is in the sky and the other is on the ground. HMPH, I don't care. I'm here to find Zhu Suoso. Since you are her boss, shouldn't you keep her under control? What right does she have to steal my boyfriend? Hiss swish. Both Zhangzhu and Zhu Suoso, who happened to walk to the door, looked extremely pale. Chapter 228 exposed. Oh, he is your boyfriend. Zhu Suoso stole your boyfriend away. Zhao Malin is a spoiled child. Although her body is an adult, her mind is still in the childhood. Now seeing Luo Wen speaking, as if to help her to seek justice, she nodded in cooperation. Then why is he still holding you here instead of being a couple with Zhu Suoso? No, Hangzhu used to be good to me only, but now he runs out every day and always buys flowers and gifts for that little goblin named Zhu Suoso. It's that Zhu Suoso who is wrong. She must be the one who did bad things and seduced my Hangzhu. Well, with such an intelligence level, Luo Wen didn't need to continue chatting. Suoso, is this Zhangzhu your boyfriend? Woo, Zhu Suoso was stunned. She didn't expect that Luo Wen would find her when she was standing inside. She just heard the security guard report to the security director that someone was looking for Zhu Suoso at the door, so she hurried out. Unexpectedly, Luo Wen was also here. Zhu Suoso's heart was already confused and panicked. Now that she was named by Luo Wen, she dared not hesitate any longer. No, how could I be his girlfriend? Zhangzhu, I have told you again and again that I don't like you. Why do you bring this kind of thing into my company? Suoso, don't be angry first. I really don't know how Malin knew that I was pursuing you. I will find time to explain it to you slowly, okay, Suoso? Oh, the flower has intention, but the water is ruthless. Obviously, Zhu Suoso has no interest in Zhangzhu, and Zhangzhu is just wishful thinking. As for Zhao Malin, she is just a silly woman spoiled by adults. I hope today's matter ends here. Zhangzhu, it's your freedom to pursue whomever you want, but don't affect the normal work of my employees. And you, Zhao Malin, before you go out, you'd better investigate the matter clearly. If there is a next time, I'm afraid that your Jia group and Zhao group will not be able to help you clean up this ass. Tap, tap, why, it's rest time now, don't you have to work at your post? Luo Wen turned and walked into the door, while Zhu Suoso was still standing there stupidly, neither leaving nor staying. After all, she was the assistant recruited by Luo Wen himself, so he had to remind her. Oh, I'll go back now, sorry, Mr. Luo. Fortunately, Aben was not angry. I hope this incident will not affect his opinion of me. Zhu Suoso didn't dare to think about it anymore, and hurriedly stepped on her high heels to keep up with Luo Wen's footsteps. Outside the gate, whether it was the fearless Zhao Malin or the devastated Zhangzhu, they were all sweating profusely. If Spark Technology really wanted to deal with their company, they probably didn't have to do anything themselves. As long as they spread the word, any number of companies and enterprises that wanted to please Spark Technology would be able to crush them in a matter of minutes. Hongzhu, Merlin, let's go back quickly. It's best to tell your family about what happened today. Otherwise, if we offend Spark Technology, you should be able to imagine the consequences. You like me? Ah. Boom. Boom. ZHU Suosuo, who was originally staring at Luo Wen's back in a trance, suddenly had her heartbeat paused for a few seconds by this sentence. Then she resumed her work and her heartbeat began to beat rapidly again. No, 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 yes, did you see through it? ZHU Suosuo wanted to stand in front of Luo Wen and watch his eyes change with her own eyes, so as to confirm his inner thoughts. Unfortunately, she was wearing high heels, so it was obviously not that easy to do. Luo Wen suddenly stopped and turned around. We are not suitable, and there will be no results. I don't have time to waste on these things. Calm, deep, and calm. There was no hesitation in his eyes, and he didn't deliberately hide anything. Luo Wen originally met ZHU Suosuo only because of Jiang Nansen, and later they became ordinary friends. ZHU Suosuo is very beautiful and has a very real personality, but Luo Wen just can't have any feelings between men and women for her. Compared with the opposite sex he has met in the main world, even Lu Zhenyu, Luo Wen has more or less some impulses and emotional changes. Only ZHU Suosuo and Jiang Nansen, a pair of sisters whose love is stronger than gold, Luo Wen can't feel anything he likes in them. For the first time, Jiang Nansen and Zhang Anren spoke ill of others behind their backs. The girl who looked bright and beautiful, as if she was not in the world, had such a small mind, and Luo Wen happened to hear it. In Jiang Nansen's family, her father was a gambler, her mother was a luxury, her aunt was a foreigner, and her grandmother was an old feudalist. In addition to the family style and old-fashioned rules of the previous dynasty, Luo Wen could not feel the existence of empathy. ZHU Suosuo, who had been living in her uncle's house since she was a child, lacked a sense of security and the warmth of home. Unfortunately, the Jiang family she longed for could not give her what she wanted. Although her life experience was worthy of sympathy, the more she lacked something, the more she should be cautious, instead of easily choosing to trust others. A driver of Yi Jinan could deceive her around, and she was eager for quick success, and provoked Zi Hongzhu again. Luo Wen didn't know the plot, nor did he know what the fate that originally belonged to them would be. But based on my understanding and contact with them over the past year, I found that they live too impetuously and empty, and they don't know what life is. When I was 25, I only knew how to go to work and think about having a family and having children. But they are already in their 20s, and are still sinking in the whirlpool of love. The real world seems to have nothing to do with them. Ideals in the future, for them, only feelings, hobbies, happiness or not. Whether to go to college, or receive higher education. How come they are not as good as him, a lower class person who only attended vocational high school? People can't seem to live only for themselves, nor can they live only for the present, right? Forget it. What ordinary people can do is so limited. Luo Wen is destined to be lonely for the rest of his life, and he slowly accepted his own fate. I'm not worthy of you. Yes, I know. I have had a boyfriend before, and I was deceived by an old man. But, is there anything wrong with pursuing the life I yearn for, and choosing the person I like? Woo woo, tick, tick. Big tears dripped along the smooth face to the ground. ZHU Suosuo was very sad and upset, and she was unwilling to accept it. She used to be very simple, at least when she first saw Luo Wen with a backpack. She was still a simple girl with infinite fantasy about love. No, it's not wrong, it's just that I don't like you. Women have too many things to do. What I want to do requires me to stay focused. Love will only distract me. Luo Wen said this. Why did ZHU Suosuo feel that he was a non-marriageist? The footsteps continued to sound, and Luo Wen walked into the complex building alone, and the direction he was heading was the experimental building. ZHU Suosuo stood under the hot sun, and the colleagues walking in the hall cast curious and concerned eyes on her. In the end, she could only sigh and continue to move forward. Chapter 229 The third product. Luo Wen came late this morning. It was almost 10 o'clock, and he appeared in the Spark Technology Industrial Park. He also happened to see a farce and rejected a girl's feelings. It was because, if Spark Technology wanted to continue to develop without obstacles, he had to meet some people and show them something. Otherwise, without official support and acquiescence, Spark Technology would have countless small troubles. Foreign forces interference with Spark Technology and domestic companies spying on Spark Technology would affect Luo Wen's attention and countless buzzing sounds. Luo Wen has extraordinary strength, and his personal force is enough to be on par with gods, but the system task requires him to lead the human beings on Earth to achieve a leap in civilization level. He can't stand on the opposite side of human beings and end up playing himself here, right? Mr. Luo, the test data has been confirmed again and again. We are already at the forefront of the world. The dust-free laboratory is built according to the highest level in the world. Otherwise, with a total investment of 200 billion, do you really think Luo Wen's money is so easy to get? A group of lab workers in white coats, all of them are experts, doctors, or elites in China, but before they came to Spark Technology, they were all typical people who were not good at speaking and worked silently. They got up earlier than chickens, slept later than dogs, and worked harder than cows, but the honors, income, and status were all from others. Fortunately, Spark invaded the global talent pool and even the monitoring system, analyzed, screened, and sorted, and finally dug up this group of frustrated real talents to Spark Technology. Haha, this is just the first step. Our goal is not only to store energy, but also to break through the shackles of oil, so that humans will no longer be affected by the energy crisis. Haha, right. Boss Luo, we will follow you, and must raise the technological level of all mankind to an unprecedented height. That's right, we must leave our own names and achievements in the history and honor of our predecessors. Clap, clap, clap. After a burst of inspiring cheers and excited applause, Luo Wen looked calm and waved his hand to quiet everyone down. Like everyone else, he was wearing a dust-proof suit and insulating gloves. Carbon crystal battery, then our third product of Spark Technology will be you. An almost transparent crystal, filled with blue-purple light, was like electricity being bound in it. Everyone, since the carbon crystal battery has been successfully developed, and the theory has become a reality, then you have to work harder on the next step of carbon crystal chips and corresponding components. If we don't have the help of supercomputers, we will waste a lot of precious time if we want to achieve controlled nuclear fusion. Right. The revolution has not yet succeeded, and everyone needs to work hard, especially real controlled nuclear fusion. If they can achieve it in their hands, their names will definitely appear in the list of the greatest scientists of the 21st century. Just thinking about them makes them excited. On September 3rd, at 12 noon, Spark Technology Industrial Park was still busy with their own work. The production workshop was stepping up the debugging of equipment, and those frontline operators also began to familiarize themselves with their operating manuals. The fully automated assembly line is not manual work, but Luo Wen deliberately added many necessary manual positions to ensure the dual coordination of Xinghuo intelligent and manual work. After all, the energy center and computing center of Xinghuo technology are using conventional means at this time, connecting to the national power grid and purchasing server units. These are far from meeting Luo Wen's requirements and are not in line with the structure of the entire huge industrial park. Before using quantum computers, Luo Wen could not guarantee that Xinghuo would not make any mistakes in terms of computing power, latency, and stability. Although the probability is extremely low, this is also something Luo Wen does not allow. Many workshops and buildings are vacant, which will be spare spaces for Luo Wen to produce and assemble in the future. The production department and the logistics department are negotiating the specific implementation details of the 3-shift system. 1 shift is 8 hours, and 3 shifts take turns to work to ensure that the automatic assembly line can produce products 24 hours a day. Rest, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and 1 hour for meals are all calculated according to the standards drafted by Luo Wen. As long as you enter the company, it is counted as working time, including rest time and meal time. There are subsidies for night shifts, which are not included in the 20,000 base salary. Fuck, The official website of Spark Technology has released a new product again. Everyone go and have a look. Spark Technology, founded by Luo Wen, has no sales department or publicity department. The only channel for releasing products and news to the outside world is the official website of Spark Technology. However, so far, Spark Technology has not issued any announcements except for the release of new products. As soon as 12 o'clock arrived, the task that Luo Wen gave to Spark Brain was strictly carried out. Carbon crystal battery, energy density 100,000 Wh/kg volume, 5x5x5 centimeters working temperature, 1000 to -100 application, mobile phones, computers, cars, etc. Price: 1,000 yuan per kilogram in China and $1,000 abroad. Fuck this. Nimmer, we have to blow it up. Spark Technology is awesome. The entire energy industry, because of the carbon crystal battery suddenly released by Spark Technology, is like a volcanic eruption, and it is not an exaggeration to describe it as a magnitude 12 earthquake. 100 degrees of electricity can be stored in a small cube crystal. Not to mention the capacity density. The key is to look at its stability, which seems to come from alien technology, and it is not something that earthlings can make at this stage. Now all battery manufacturers, mobile phone manufacturers, computer manufacturers, and major car brands, every industry related to it is making crazy calls, trying to find a way to talk directly with the top management of Spark Technology. They want to seek cooperation, the kind of thing that is extremely urgent. Even when the state grid wanted to get involved, the big man above said, "Don't worry, we will have what we need." When it comes to the performance of carbon crystal batteries, we have to mention the current top battery products, not including laboratories and military confidential products. Even if they are included, I'm afraid they can't be compared unless they develop small nuclear batteries. As for commercial lithium batteries circulating on the market, the current highest capacity is 300 Wh/kg of 21,700 battery, which means that 1 kilogram of lithium battery can only store 0.3 kWh of electricity. Looking back at the carbon crystal battery released by Spark Technology, the terrifying data of 100 kWh per kilogram is a full 333 times difference. If a car wants to reach a battery capacity of 60 kilowatts, the battery pack alone will exceed 200 kilograms. If it is replaced with a carbon crystal battery priced at 1,000 yuan, I'm afraid that the domestic new energy vehicle layout will soon be fully realized. Brothers, we have finally waved goodbye to the days when we couldn't afford to fill up our tanks. Haha, that's right. Once the carbon crystal battery comes out, who dares to compete? This is an electric car, equipped with a high-density carbon crystal battery. Not only will the performance have a qualitative leap, but the terminal selling price of their cars will have to be reduced by at least 30% just from the battery price. We have been bullied so much by foreign countries, and now we can finally hold our heads high. Spark Technology V587. Hey, have you forgotten your mobile phones and computers? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230. Apologize. The official website of Spark Technology has been almost torn apart by the business departments of various companies, but they still can't find any relevant contact information. Hey, doesn't Spark Technology already have a company headquarters? There was a news report the day before yesterday. Yes, this Spark Technology is really strange. When everyone is seeking exposure and improving the popularity of their own company, they actually do the opposite. Not only do they ask the news media to withdraw their reports, but they also only sell things on the official website. Don't they think they are running an online store? Shh, don't talk nonsense. Such a company may be a company secretly supported by the state. Don't all the products they release have to be kept strictly confidential? Spark Translation Assistant, Spark System, Carbon Crystal Battery? It seems that strict confidentiality is indeed required. Beep, the automatic explosion-proof door opened, and Luo Wen walked out of the laboratory alone. The order he issued to all experimental personnel was to eat on time every day, and enter the laboratory after a good rest. But Luo Wen himself was not restricted by his own orders. This made the group of high-end talents who wanted to live in the laboratory 24 hours a day really dare to be angry, but dare not speak. What if they angered Mr. Luo, and were kicked out of Spark Technology? Where could they go to seek justice? It would be better to forget it, if the gain was not worth the loss. Mr. Luo, Zijian from Jia Li Group and Mr. Zhao from Zhao Group are all at the gate, and want to see you? Zhu Suosuo looked at Luo Wen standing in front of her with complicated eyes. They were less than half a meter away, but the gap between them was a world of difference. They want to see me, how can I have the time? I haven't eaten lunch yet. Why don't you go back to the office first? I'll go to the cafeteria to see if there is anything to eat. Luo Wen was very surprised. Didn't he say that except for those who were authorized, whoever wanted to see him should not notify him and handle it by himself? How to get authorization? Of course, it depends on Spark to evaluate. In other words, whether they have obtained official permission, otherwise Luo Wen will not see anyone. No, I'll go home and have dinner directly. By the way, why do they want to see me? Luo Wen waved his hand. Seeing that Zhu Suosuo looked a little absent-minded, he thought she still needed time to adjust, so he didn't argue with her. Oh, didn't Zhao Malin and Zihangzu run to the company gate and make a scene yesterday? So their parents have been waiting since this morning, saying they want to apologize to you in person. Oh, so sincere. No need, let them go back. If they want to apologize to me, just take care of their own children. Luo Wen stepped forward and walked straight past Zhu Suosuo who was leading the way. The sky outside the window darkened, and it was 6:30 in the afternoon. Doesn't the administration get off work at 5 o'clock? Why are you still here? I want to wait for you to get off work together. Zhu Suosuo's eyes were stubborn, and her eyes became red and moist. Don't wait any longer. After I go back today, I will move to Dangli. The house has been listed with the agency. I know. But what Luo Wen said was very chilling, but when he went out, he still drove Zhu Suosuo with him. The living area on another piece of land in Xinghuo Technology Industrial Park is still under renovation, and the transportation nearby is not very convenient. Zhu Suosuo is a girl, and Luo Wen is not at ease letting her go out alone and take a bus home. Boss Luo, are you not planning to marry someone else in your lifetime? The car was very quiet, and Luo Wen had a pleasant smell of fresh sunshine on him. But Zhu Suosuo lowered her head and never dared to look into his eyes again, because it was too cold and too calm, and she couldn't stand it. Maybe, there are still many things waiting for me to do. You are young now, and it is urgent to find a suitable candidate for yourself. Is that really the case? But how could a person who cares about you fall in love with other men? Creak. Pop. Hello, Boss Luo. Well, if you are tired at night, you can take turns to take a rest. Thank you, Boss Luo, for your concern. The guard room at the door is a simple two-story building. In addition to the space on the first floor, where they sit on duty, place patrol tools and hold meetings, there is actually a lounge on the second floor, with beds, dining tables, household appliances and the like. Luo Wen had just driven the car out of the gate, and the Panamera and a Mercedes-Benz S on the opposite side of the road attracted his attention. Of course, people are not allowed to park at the company gate. Even if it is 50 meters away, the security guards will do their duty and persuade them to leave. But these two luxury cars, with air conditioners turned on and tickets on the windows, were parked far away across the road, but they refused to leave. What is going on? Boom, no matter what the situation is, Luo Wen stepped on the accelerator and left in the direction of his home. If they are willing to wait, then just keep waiting. Hey, mom, that's Mr. Luo's car. He's out. Let's catch up. Gurgle. Zihangzu usually eats wherever he goes and never feels hungry, but today he accompanied his biological mother and waited in the car for a whole day. Except for a fast food meal at noon, his stomach kept growling, but his mother didn't ask for another portion, and Zihangzu didn't dare to order another one. HMPH, don't you know how much trouble you have caused our family this time? It's being said everywhere that Mr. Luo of Spark Technology has been offended by our Jia Group and Zao Group, and the contract has been terminated, the products have been returned, and they have been suppressed. If our company collapses, you still want to eat, but you can't even eat hot shit. You go up first. It seems that they won't give up, unless they find me to talk to each other face to face today. Luo Wen parked his car in the parking space downstairs, and the two luxury cars following behind him also found parking spaces one after another. Then, one after another, several middle-aged men, leading two young men and women who were shrinking their heads, walked towards Luo Wen. Oh, how about you give me the key, and I'll go to your house first, and help you pack your things. No need, I asked my cousin to deliver the things to me during the day, and I just sent you back on the way. Ah. Click, click, ZHU Suosuo looked back every few steps. She knew that after today, the relationship between her and Luo Wen would only become more and more distant. It was basically impossible to see him outside of work. Bang. Luo Wen got out of the car and closed the door. He was still dressed to make himself comfortable, short-sleeved t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. Boss Luo, I'm sorry to bother you in this environment. The one who spoke was a middle-aged woman wearing high-end custom-made clothes, exquisite makeup, and a strong smell of perfume. Behind her stood Zhangzhu, and on the other side was Zhao Malin and her parents. The decision makers of the Zhao group were not these two people, they were just small shareholders with shares. Otherwise, they would not rush to marry their beautiful daughter to the soft second-generation ancestor Zhangzhu. Haha, don't be embarrassed. Everyone has to pay the price for their actions. Although I didn't do anything, your company's situation seems to be very bad. Why does Mr. Luo ask this question when he knows the answer? Let's be frank. In terms of ability, Mr. Luo is already a technology giant at a young age. As for how to behave, we did not discipline our children and let them mess around. This is our dereliction of duty as parents. Oh, Zijian is very courageous. Luo Wen didn't have the time to pay attention to the developments of other companies. He just used the key-looking technique to see that the tops of each of their heads were black, so he just mentioned it. So, Luo Wen so made Zijian's long-prepared words stuck in her throat. I hope Mr. Luo can be magnanimous and give our Z and Zhao families a way out. Zijian seemed to feel that the word magnanimous was not used properly. She lowered her head with a little embarrassment on her face. However, life and death depend on other people's thoughts. For ordinary people, if their families are broken up, they can just start over. Because they have never experienced the rich upper class life. Zijian has been in the business world for decades. She has never cared about face. She only cares about interests. Without money, she would rather die. I never said I would deal with you, and I can't help you. Understand? Click, bang, as the accelerator sounded, and Luo Wen drove away from the panicked people. What's the point of doing business if you can't manage your family? Luo Wen, an orphan, is still trying to keep a low profile. They really think they can kill gods, and that money means everything. In this case, let's go and experience what it's like to be without money. Hey, Mr. Luo. Mr. Luo. Chapter 231 Civilization Advancement. In the first year after Luo Wen came to this world, he officially launched his first epoch-making product. The impact was so profound and so great that it was far beyond the reach of the Spark system. And this was just the beginning. Carbon crystal batteries, no matter how the outside world discussed it, whether it was competition, pessimism, or seeking cooperation, Luo Wen put the product on the official website. Whether it was an individual or a company, whether it was domestic or foreign, they either accepted the price and placed an order to buy, or waited to be eliminated by the times. Because the domestic officials have already begun to purchase in large quantities and applied them to public transportation, power systems, public services, and infrastructure. The first to strike has the advantage, and the last to strike has the disadvantage. After all, with the current production capacity of Spark technology, it is impossible to meet the needs of the global energy market. As long as someone wants to develop, there will naturally be various difficulties and obstacles. Luo Wen is no exception. although he has no obstacles in the country because someone has given him a green light, and Luo Wen is also operating in accordance with the law and paying taxes as usual. Why should the officials suppress the technology star? However, foreign markets are the exclusive domain of capital giants in developed countries. As long as it is a product of Spark technology, they will suppress it crazily and try every means to expel it. Unfortunately, Luo Wen doesn't care. The foreign market only affects the amount of income. At worst, he can just not sell it. Spark Technology is a high-tech company that has formed its own 100% control of the industrial chain from raw materials to products. Sanctions? The raw material of carbon crystal batteries is just carbon. Automatic production line. Luo Wen also has his own mechanical production workshop and even his own semiconductor department. What? Iron ore and metals are controlled by foreign companies. Spark Technology can make production tools by itself. He can't make these things out of thin air, right? Sorry, carbon element is in the air, and other element can be prepared from the soil. Anyway, Spark Technology has no shortage of energy. The solidity of carbon crystal cannot be compared with diamond. All equipment and instruments manufactured by Spark Technology are made of synthetic materials. Not only metals can be used to make equipment. On December 1st, almost 3 months after the release of the carbon crystal battery, the outside world has already verified the strength of Spark Technology. The official website of Spark Technology has undergone new changes. Brothers, go and have a look. Spark Technology has released all the spare parts and electronic components related to semiconductors. It has even gone directly across the screen and has a holographic projection module. No way, with the addition of carbon crystal batteries, doesn't that mean Spark Technology can directly assemble mobile phones and even computers? Spark Technology has released a new generation of personal terminals. They don't define it as a mobile phone or a computer, but a personal terminal. Hey, here it comes again. Spark Technology has new products. Damn, quantum chips, and elementary artificial intelligence. Crazy, crazy. Spark Technology sent a whole set of quantum communication satellites into space in the early hours of yesterday morning without anyone noticing. It was just broadcast on the news, and everyone on their phones is talking about it like crazy. Don't just look at the new product releases, go and check out the prices. A personal terminal that uses quantum chips and realizes quantum communication only costs 2,000 yuan. Moreover, the monthly rate is only 10 yuan. How did Spark Technology do it? Did it bypass the operator? I told you to watch TV, why don't you listen? The news just said that Spark Technology has the qualifications for independent networking and network operation, and it has obtained a license. More than 1 billion people in China have been caught in a wave of joy and cheers, not only because of the rapid rise of Spark Technology, a big dark horse, but also because life is changing with each passing day, and for the better. The state grid issued the latest announcement, and the residential electricity price was uniformly reduced to 0.1 yuan per kilowatt hour, and the industrial electricity price was reduced to 0.2 yuan per kilowatt hour. Such a big move directly stunned a number of developed countries. The domestic communications market is also undergoing a rapid reshuffle and a stage of redivision of power. For example, Spark Technology is the only one in the market, and the Spark terminal uses a full range of projection, super sensing cameras, carbon crystal batteries, and sound field controllers. It is priced at 2,000, and the monthly subscription for online communications is only 10 yuan. Whether in terms of function, portability, or even black technology, there is no rival that can match it worldwide. Spark Technology Industrial Park uses fully automated production lines and is constantly adding new departments and new production lines. Its own equipment and production speed are also constantly being upgraded. A technology tree that has long been lit up is now just bringing the fruits on it into reality one by one. Energy is guaranteed and cheap. Communication has become more flexible and efficient, and the process of information dissemination has been accelerated. Next, I've seen it too. The key is that domestic car manufacturers are all officially announcing new car launches. Judging from the gossip they release from time to time, it seems that they are well prepared this time. They are going to collectively launch new energy electric vehicles. Haha, well done. In the future, we don't have to worry about international oil prices, and we don't have to calculate the fuel consumption of our own cars. We all drive electric cars, which are quiet and environmentally friendly. The key is that the electricity bill is very cheap, which will piss off those foreigners. The state grid has built a lot of energy storage centers. It says that it will build 1,000 large-scale energy storage centers across the country. Each energy storage center can store at least 1 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity at a time. Doesn't this mean that there will never be power outages in the future? Haha, not only that, even if the state grid's lines are under maintenance, we can just buy an energy block with a carbon crystal battery and a household model on the internet, with a minimum of 100 kilowatt-hours of electricity. That's foolproof. Oh, the person above is so smart. The cheapest energy block only sells for 2,000 yuan. It can be charged and discharged, and has an average service life of 30 years. I have one for everyone. The carnival brought by Spark Technology is destined to be one wave after another, making those enemies who are caught off guard and have no idea where to start even more anxious. There is no sign of progress here, and a new crisis begins to break out there. Spark Technology is like being possessed by aliens. Every now and then, it used to take a few months to make a big move, but now everyone goes to the official website of Spark Technology or the department store every hour or so, and there will be some new things on it. Even the simplest product is a cross-era black technology. The 30-story experimental building in the Spark Technology Industrial Park is always brightly lit for 20 hours a day, constantly turning the information in the Spark database into reality, and then sending it to the technical department and production department. More than 10,000 white coats work in 3 shifts every day. They all have their own fixed team members, and sometimes they will gather together to study large interdisciplinary projects. The minimum salary standard for laboratory technicians is level 3, and the highest is level 5. As for such a high salary, will Luo Wen feel pressured? Spark Technology is like a giant ship that spans time and space. All obstacles in front of it will be blown to pieces. Developed countries are not so monolithic. Although they are powerful and their control over the world is shocking, in the face of absolute dimensionality reduction, how could the billions of civilians in the world leave Spark Technology's products unused and use their own outdated and obsolete products? At the end of September, the month when the carbon crystal battery was released, Spark Technology's revenue was 200 billion, and this was still limited in production capacity. Luo Wen did not count the pre-orders. By the end of December, after 3 months of crazy expansion and fission development, Spark Technology has become a behemoth with 20,000 employees and a monthly revenue of 1 trillion. The profit margin has always been above 50%. So does Luo Wen have enough money to pay wages? This can be seen from the fact that no one has left Spark Technology so far. Chapter 232 NV. Spark Technology, in its 3rd year of establishment, Luo Wen's cousin and Jiang Nansen got together. On the day of their wedding, the official website of Spark Technology released a new bombshell. State Grid and Spark Technology will reach a cooperation in the construction project of nuclear fusion power station. Nuclear fusion is continuous, clean and efficient. Even elementary school students know what this means, not to mention adults. Damn it. I don't know how many times I've been excited about Spark Technology. Now when I see the news, I still can't stop crying. Haha, I've said before that Spark Technology can come up with so many black technologies, it will definitely not let go of nuclear fusion. Today, an announcement was released saying that before the end of the year, the construction of 10 large-scale nuclear fusion power stations will be completed. Judging from our domestic habits and work style, I boldly guess that Spark Technology may have already developed nuclear fusion. What the above person said makes sense. Let me tell you, a friend of mine is an experimenter at Spark Technology. He told me that their industrial park already has its own energy center. What a great way to make a friend out of nothing. He captured an experimenter from Spark Technology alive. Everyone, come and see, this guy's actually alive. On the day when nuclear fusion was widely publicized, all countries in the world gave up their little tricks behind the scenes because they all understood what this represented. Such high-tech, The highest black technology of the next era was actually displayed by a private company and even promoted to the public. They can already imagine that the Oriental Dragon has probably completed the military upgrade behind it. Even the real space battleships they may have parked in some secret base. The exchange rate of the US dollar to the RMB has been directly pulled to 10:1 and the US dollar is 10. Don't get me wrong. Especially the pricing of Spark technology, with the fluctuation of the exchange rate, the US dollar purchase channel was directly cancelled, and it can only be settled in RMB. In addition, today, when the eyes of the world are attracted by the three words of nuclear fusion, in the international exchange rate market, the RMB is far ahead, and the US dollar is directly falling. Many underground banks and black markets have directly stopped the service of exchanging US dollars for RMB. Although everyone has a premonition of the collapse of the US dollar, but when this day comes so quickly and so suddenly, everyone in China is relieved and grateful, and excited with tears in their eyes. But in foreign countries, everyone is dumbfounded. Not to mention those foreigners, the real foreigners, who make a lot of noise, take guns to vent their panic, buy things for free, numb themselves with alcohol and drugs, or commit suicide. And when those who just tore up their passports at the immigration office, these people are only a very small minority. The majority are the banana people who have made it to the middle class, and the free people of the upper middle class. They seem to have a brain short circuit, and can't understand why their hometown has suddenly become so prosperous, and the world they yearn for is completely a purgatory on earth, and it will only get worse. I want to go back to my country. Sorry, they don't accept waste paper, and I need to go to the embassy to apply for a visa. Can I apply for it? The probability can be ignored. The direction that everyone yearns for is no longer the West, but the East. It's just a pity that the second fool who could have been a citizen of the Celestial Empire actually ran away. Nansen, congratulations. I'm happy for you and Wang Yangzheng to be together. Haha, a suburban manor. Flowers, lawns, noisy guests, long tables with delicious food and drinks on both sides, Jiang Nansen in a wedding dress, and Wang Yangzheng in a suit, are arm in arm accepting blessings from relatives and friends. Thank you, Zhang and Ren, you should find someone for yourself. Your parents must be worried if you stay single. Yes, although you were my rival in love, I also hope you can find your other half. Zhang and Ren's mood is very complicated. Looking at the golden boy and jade girl in front of him, he is full of envy. But forget it, no matter how much he wants, he can't go back to the past. By the way, where is your cousin Luo Wen? Why didn't he show up at such an important occasion today? After all, many people today wanted to see the true face of this son of the century with their own eyes. He must be busy. As you know, Spark Technology has a special mission, and he rarely attends such a crowded event. Jiang Nansen and Wang Yangzheng both showed very embarrassed expressions on their faces. Although Nansen's aunt had their help to find connections, she was directly blocked abroad because of nationality issues and could not come back. Even Nansen's mother, who divorced and became single 2 years ago, was taken abroad by her aunt and married a Chinese who studied abroad. Originally, before Nansen and Wang Yangzheng held their wedding, they thought that the wedding should be held according to their own preferences. As a result, no one said anything about the Western-style wedding. After all, they had to give a Luo Wen face. As a result, not only did the elders in the family not arrive, Luo Wen just didn't say anything when he received their call, and then hung up. It seems that their decision really disappointed many people. The night before, Luo Wen did not receive a call from Wang Yangzheng to embarrass him deliberately because of the Chinese or Western style, but because, ding, mission completed, forced to return in 12 hours, please pay attention to the host. Haha, Luo Wen received a temporary notice from Wang Yangzheng in the middle of the night, not because Wang Yangzheng did not want to call earlier, but because Luo Wen now squats in the experimental building 24 hours a day, and it is harder for people outside to see him than to climb to the sky. Why did the system prompt sound when Luo Wen received Wang Yangzheng's call? That's because the experimental data of the gene enhancement agent studied in the laboratory has successfully passed the verification of Spark. Luo Wen did not expect that, because he was afraid of being left in this world. He kept climbing up the technology, nuclear fusion, quantum chips, material extraction and synthesis, and even moved towards the antimatter, the level of 2 technological civilization. But the result was that the biological agent team brought Luo Wen good news. This was really unexpected. 12 hours. Even if I wait until the last second for the system to be forced back, it will only be 10 o'clock in the morning. Wan Yangsheng, Jiang Nansen, I'm sorry, I obviously can't make it to your wedding ceremony. Beep click. Luo Wen came out of the laboratory building. The experimental personnel along the way were all full of crazy admiration, paying their respects to the young man in front of them. However, there were too many people. If Luo Wen did those face-saving projects, he would have to waste a lot of time to greet them every day. Nodding was considered a greeting, and then passing by each other, each busy with the task at hand. Xinghuo, start the Xinghuo plan. I should go home. Okay, boss, the order has been confirmed. The execution sequence has been changed. I wish you a safe journey. The Xinghuo plan will promote 9 rotating executives from Xinghuo Technology and rotate every 2 years. This is the company level. In the society, Spark Technology will set up the Spark Fund, corresponding to different scientific research projects, and set up high bonuses. It is both an honor and an incentive for outstanding talents. Spark Technology will take out 1% of its annual profits every year, which will be the funds for the operation of the fund and rewards. Another 50% of the profits will be invested in the basic education in China. These will be led by the government, and Spark Technology will only be responsible for supervision and money. And all of these will be executed and judged by the Spark intelligent brain. As for where this world will go in the future, Luo Wen has handed over all the technology, including the details of the suggestions for the subsequent direction of technological development, except for one thing, that is, his own cultivation system, because this is Luo Wen's trump card. System, return to the main world. The lights of thousands of houses have no chance with Luo Wen, and he has not been home for a long time. Wish the chairman's office flashed a faint light. In this world, that has been changed by magic, Luo Wen's figure can no longer be found. Perhaps, the memories of him passed down by word of mouth will slowly become various legends. Chapter 233 Mid-Autumn Festival. 2020 is not only the national day, but also the traditional Mid-Autumn Festival. Luo Wen went to another world and wasted 3 years in vain. He regarded it as the experience of developing the scientific and technological civilization of the main world. He couldn't say that he had wasted 3 years. System, open the personal panel. Host, Luo Wen race, human, level 0 technological civilization carbon-based organism, ability, strength 650, ordinary person 1, agility 650, ordinary person 1, physical strength 650, ordinary person 1. Spirit 650, ordinary person 1, Maocean magic divine consciousness, 800 meters. Telekinesis, 8,000 kilograms. Realm, Golden Pill Realm, Maocean Orthodoxy, Talent, Energy Affinity, Gift from the System, Vitality. 1200 years trading points. 20,300 points storage space. 16 meters whether it is cultivation or 4-dimensional attributes, there is basically no change. The only changes are the trading points and the size of the storage space. Through the transparent glass above his head, the moon outside the house was particularly large, although not very round, but Luo Wen was particularly relaxed, because, in the end, he was back. Ding, complete the system task, return to the main world, reward 20,000 trading points, storage space increased to 16 meters, simple difficulty no item reward. Cock-a-doodle-doo, the rooster crowed, and the whole village woke up in the morning light, including Zhang Yu who stayed at Luo Wen's house. Wenzi, Wuzi, are you up yet? Come down and have breakfast quickly, we still have to go to Grandma's house, to celebrate the festival later. Luo Wen slept very soundly that night, and at the call of his mother, Luo Wen, Luo Wu, and Zhang Yu on the 2nd and 3rd floors all packed up and went downstairs. Although Zhang Yu stayed at Luo Wen's house, in order to avoid gossip from the elders, they still pretended to sleep separately. Xiaoyu, we just made some, you can see. If it tastes good. If it doesn't taste good, I'll ask my uncle to go to the street to buy you some. Haha. No, no, this is already very rich. I don't dare to eat so good when I work outside. Luo Wen's parents probably fought for their future daughter-in-law. Noodles, 1000-layer cakes, buns, flour rolls, and white fungus soup. Really 18 martial arts dedicated. Hey, Wenzi, change into a nicer dress later. Don't be so simple. It's rare for the whole family to go out together. Luo Wen's temperament is more and more introverted, and the changes in his facial features are all subtle adjustments that are imperceptible. Although they haven't seen each other for 3 years, Luo Wen slept for a night, and at most everyone thought he was a little lazy and didn't find anything different. Oh, I get it. Luo Wen obediently took the bowl and sat on the stone of the flower bed by the roadside outside the door. Although he is the eldest son of the old Luo family, he is obviously inferior to Zhang Yu, the daughter-in-law. Luo Deke and Ren Gixiang were at the table, picking up food for Zhang Yu, with enthusiasm and love on their faces. Luo Wu, like his own brother, silently took the bowl and sat next to him. The brothers in distress looked at each other and smiled bitterly in tacit understanding. Boom. Luo Wen adjusted his state by sleeping. The parallel world he went to, whether in climate or technological level, was not much different from the main world. He drove steadily, without any discomfort or awkwardness. Luo Wen followed his mother's advice and changed into a new outfit: sneakers, short sleeves, jeans. In fact, there was no difference from the past, just the difference between the old and the new. Besides, Luo Wen's image now has long passed the stage of clothes make the man, and the saddle makes the horse. Having experienced a lot, I feel like I have a lot of knowledge in my heart, and I'm full of poetry and books. The straight line distance between Luo Wen's home and his grandmother's home is no more than 5 kilometers, but the cement road is winding, and it takes about 10 minutes to drive. In Mandarin, it's called grandma and grandma. In local dialect, Luo Wen and his family actually call them Jiajia and Jiagang. Luo Wen's mother used poor Mandarin to make it convenient for Zhang Yu. Of course, Luo Wen's mother, who was sitting in the back seat at this time, was urgently teaching Zhang Yu, who came from another province, how to address relatives here in dialect. The autumn weather was clear and refreshing. Along the way, there were rural revitalization projects that were strongly supported by the government. The widened dual-lane road was paved with smooth asphalt. Reflective strips were fixed on both sides of the road, and the landscape trees planted were also particularly lush and well maintained. Luo Wen drove along the way. He saw many city dwellers who went to the countryside for fun. They seemed to like to go to the countryside whenever they had a holiday, as if they didn't have to go back to their own homes for the holidays. They either drove or took tourist buses organized by their units. Anyway, when they passed the entrance of the Kingpin Valley Visitor Center, they saw a scene of great fanfare. Uncle, aunt, your place is still developing well, unlike our hometown, which has basically remained the same for 10 years. Wow, the wealth of a place is certainly not measured by the buildings and shopping malls in the city center, but by the industrial heritage and the construction of the countryside. If the city dwellers are rich, that is not called being rich. Only when the rural people are rich can a city be considered to have entered the fast lane of rapid development. It's okay. When your parents are free, they can bring everyone to our place to have some fun. It's also a good opportunity for our parents to meet and discuss your business. Girls are always shy when they hear this. Luo Wu, who was sitting in the back seat, just scratched his head and smiled foolishly. Luo Wen's father, who was sitting in the passenger seat, wanted to interrupt, but he didn't know what to say. He just agreed with Luo Wen's mother. Zhang Yu, I'll ask Luo Wu to pick a car you like these days. Let him go with you and bring your parents over. After a while, the house below will be built. Don't worry, there's plenty of space. Brother, thank you. Luo Wen's words made people feel more at ease. Moreover, it was not the first time Zhang Yu had dealt with Luo Wen. She felt that their family was equally enthusiastic and kind, and the tension in her heart was also relieved a lot. In Luo Wen's hometown, there are no rules. It is just a custom. During festivals, young people of marriageable age who are dating can bring their partners back to let their relatives get to know them and make them familiar. When a man comes to visit, he usually brings a lot of bags, including cigarettes and alcohol. He needs to buy gifts to represent his sincerity when he visits for the first time. As for the woman, there are basically no requirements. She just needs to dress neatly and be energetic to respond to the inquiries and enthusiasm of relatives. The gifts are prepared by Luo Wen's parents or Luo Wu. Zhang Yu only needs to bring herself. Moreover, she should receive a lot of red envelopes when she visits for the first time. Chapter 234 Blind Date. Luo Wen's mother was more frequent, and the relationship between the siblings was close. Of course, the old generation's thinking was to favor boys over girls, but fortunately, Luo Wen was successful now. So when he drove a BMW X5 and brought his family to visit the old man, the lively and cordial scene was naturally imaginable. The elders were not only concerned about Luo Wu and Zhang Yu's marriage, but also pointed the finger at Luo Wen, asking him when he would bring his wife back for everyone to see. Renjia village is larger than Luojia village, but it is not too large, with less than 20 households. The neighbors around came to see the excitement, greeted Ren Gixiang, chatted about their past and present lives, and praised the excellence of her two sons. Luo Wen, on the other hand, quietly led a group of his cousin's children and drove around the village. Only Luo Wu and Zhang Yu were left alone to face the enthusiastic bombardment of the elders, but Luo Wen missed something. Gixiang, I have recently found a good girl for you. Her age is suitable for Wenzi. The key is that I have seen that girl before. She is fair-skinned and good-looking. She has been to college and is an undergraduate. The slightly plump woman who looked 70% of what she imagined was Ren Gixiang's eldest sister and Luo Wen's aunt. At this moment, she was holding Luo Wen's mother and discussing something quietly. Also with them were Luo Wen's aunt and younger aunt. Really? Wuzi has brought his wife back, so Wenzi, as his elder brother, can't lag behind. I think no matter what, we should arrange for them to meet first. Who knows, maybe they will fall in love with each other. Well, that being said, it's not like I haven't thought about it before. Wenzi can make money now. He's not old, and he seems to have high standards. Whenever I mention it to him, he hides away. I don't have any good solution. Well, it's hard for you to say. Let us say that Wenzi has always been very obedient. We will help you settle this matter today. Uncle, drive faster, faster. The little face was flushed, and the two pigtails were swinging behind her head, which was very cute. And none of the little kids in the backseat was obedient. They ate and drank at the same time, and even squeezed their little heads over from the center console, shouting that they were not satisfied. Luo Wen's car was only going 10 km/h. Although he was driving around the village, and not on the road outside, he still let the group of naughty kids sit in the back seat, and did not allow them to sit in the front seat. Yeah, uncle, every time my dad drives, I stand up from the sunroof. You are too stingy, aren't you? Nowadays, naughty kids are so scared that they step back when they see chickens, ducks, pigs, and cows. On the contrary, they are very knowledgeable about technological products. They are really naughty. Okay, it's getting late. It's probably time for lunch. It's better to drive around again and then go home. It was only 11 o'clock in the morning, but Luo Wen misjudged the lethality of these unfortunate kids, so he decided to raise his hands and surrender. Returning them to their biological parents as soon as possible may be the best choice. Besides, playing cards for a few hours peacefully can be regarded as Luo Wen's way of doing justice to his cousins. At 4 p.m., after eating and drinking, a large group of people began to leave. Luo Wen's mother's side, basically everyone lives a good life. Every family has a car and has bought a house in the city. When taking those naughty children who are not having fun, each family has their own way. They either promise to let them play with their mobile phones for a long time, or buy them some toys, or just slap them on the buttocks and hold the crying unfortunate children in the car. Mom, Dad, we are leaving. Well, drive safely on the road. Come over more often when you're free. The saddest ones may not be the children, but the married daughters, like Luo Wen's mother. Luo Wen and Luo Wu obviously didn't have such feelings. They went up to say hello and goodbye to their grandparents. The kind and gentle old people kept putting fruits and biscuits in Zhang Yu's hands, just like they were looking at children. Ah, that's right. In the eyes of the two old people, aren't all the people present today children? Boom, the sun sets, and the afterglow gradually turns yellow. The atmosphere in the car is very quiet, as if there is a feeling of parting brewing in everyone's heart. On the road, there are cars passing by constantly. They are probably people going home for the holidays, as well as those city dwellers who are tired of playing outings. Mom, huh? What's wrong? Well, I won't go to the blind date that my aunt introduced me to. Luo Wen's real age is far more than 25 years old. Although he is still a novice with no feelings, his mind is obviously less and less concerned about that. No, don't regret it now. Why didn't you regret it when my aunt and the others said it before? Humph, puff, brother, I think what my aunt said is right. There is nothing wrong with blind dates. Alas, you can escape the first day of the month, but you can't escape the 15th day. Who can understand the helplessness on Luo Wen's face? You really don't plan to stay at home for a few more days? In the evening, Luo Wen cooked a table of slightly light flavored food. After all, everyone was a little too full after eating a lot of fish and meat at noon. Luo Wen's parents watched the news broadcast and accompanied the young people to watch a movie in the home theater. After all, the good work and rest time they developed played a role. They went back to their rooms to sleep. On the large terrace on the 3rd floor, Luo Wen, Luo Wu, and Zhang Yu were drinking drinks, eating mooncakes, and experiencing the ancient custom of watching the moon. Well, no, I've said hello to my parents today. I'm going to visit Zhang Yu's parents and learn the way. I'll drive over next time and pick them up here. Luo Wu and Zhang Yu snuggled together, sitting quietly on the rattan swing, and Luo Wen, who was single, just nodded silently, without any envy or jealousy of being shown off their love. Oh, that's fine too. I'll transfer some money to you first, and when I come back, I'll pick up the car, so that I don't have to be urged by my parents to be a driver every time, and it will be more convenient for you to travel. Huh. Ding brother, did you add an extra zero? Luo Wu looked at the arrival reminder on his phone, and suddenly stood up from the swing. 5,500,000. You are not an outsider. Just don't mess around with it. Just keep it. The moon is as bright as a jade plate, and in the quiet mountain village, on the roof of a luxurious 3-story villa, an atmosphere called family affection lingers for a long time, and has never dissipated. It's getting late. Didn't you buy the 9 o'clock train ticket? Go to bed early. I will drive you to the train station tomorrow morning. Oh, okay. Thank you brother. Haha. Chapter 235 Realistic Girl. The next day, at 7 o'clock in the morning, Luo Wen picked up the morning exercise habit he had many years ago. In the eyes of the villagers, Luo Wen was just like yesterday, with no difference. After the exercise, he was full of sunshine, vitality, and vigor. While making breakfast in the kitchen, he shouted to the young couple on the 2nd floor like his parents. Luo Wu, are you up? As for Luo Deke and Rengixiang, they get up a little later than Luo Wen every day, and they should be back from the vegetable garden soon. Oh, here they come. Luo Wen and Zhang Yu did not sleep in like yesterday, but counted the luggage in the room in the morning, and checked which things to bring from home, and which things to buy there. Zhang. Luo Wen's cooking skills are not to be underestimated. As long as you have eaten it once, it is difficult to forget it easily. However, Zhang Yu would not be stupid enough to say, Luo Je's breakfast is better than that of uncles and aunts. This kind of offensive words are not. At this moment, she was only touched, because yesterday it was the gift from uncle and aunt, and today it was the gift from brother Luo Wu. After breakfast at 7:30, Luo Wen said hello to his parents and drove out. By the way, at 10 o'clock in the morning, he had to go to the district to meet his blind date. It was quite a coincidence that the agreed place was where Wen Kaiang opened a store. It's still early, be careful on the road. Woozy, when you get to Zhang Yu's house, remember to work harder and speak more modestly. Don't act like a young master at home. Oh, I know, you'd better go for the blind date quickly. Don't waste time. I'm still waiting to call you sister-in-law. Luo Wen was speechless, watching Luo Wu and Zhang Yu carrying a suitcase and walking into the station gate. He turned around and got in the car and left. After all, Jiangling district is more than half an hour away from here. In case of the peak travel time during holidays, who knows if there will be traffic jams. Luo Wenqi is not looking forward to the blind date. Is he curious about the beautiful girl who is praised by his aunt? In fact, it is not important at all. It is just that, since he promised it himself, no matter what, he should take it seriously and not be late. This is his principle in life. As for whether it is suitable or not, you can only know it after seeing it, right? Boom, a black warrior in the traffic is like a small fish in the stream. It is very flexible and light and moves forward steadily. In the gradually sluggish traffic, it seems that it is not affected at all. The car equipped with the Spark Intelligent Assistant. Every change of the traffic light is displayed on the display screen, and Luo Wen's powerful brain computing ability, as well as visual analysis and body control are combined. Lane change, acceleration, and line switching are also smooth and natural. Hey, Xiaoling, is the aunt your parents know reliable? Let's not go there stupidly. What if it turns out to be a freak? Wan Lingling and Zhang Fenfang are best friends who have been playing together since childhood. They are young and beautiful, and their image can be scored at least 7 points. With a little makeup and matching clothes, they are beautiful young ladies that everyone loves. One of them was wearing slim jeans and a white t-shirt, and the other was wearing a dress with the same pair of white sneakers. It just so happened that they were on vacation at home and had nowhere good to go, so they might as well be good girls for once. No, I heard that he drives a BMW, and I chatted with him on WeChat yesterday, and he looks so handsome in his photos. Really? Is he as handsome as your boyfriend? Shh, stop talking nonsense. Li Liheng hasn't met my requirements yet. I only agreed to give him a chance because he treats me very well. What's the use of a foreigner who doesn't have a car or a house being handsome in Haching? Yeah, that makes sense. By then I have to find a rich second generation who has a car and a house and is devoted to me. Otherwise, when will I get rich by selling the house? Wan Lingling and Zhang Fenfang were chatting excitedly in the backseat of the online car hailing service. Seeing that it was already past 10 o'clock, they were still leisurely putting on makeup. They didn't think there was anything wrong with being a little late. After all, being late is a woman's talent and a privilege of beautiful women. Jinling Square is the most luxurious shopping mall in Jiangling district. There is no other shopping mall. It is usually crowded with people. Residents and young men and women can find shops and entertainment facilities to spend their time here. Walmart supermarket, Wanda cinema, internet celebrity food, KTV, Western restaurant, coffee shop, video game city, internet cafe. It is really all inclusive. There is also a pedestrian street, small commodities, clothing, nail art, and small restaurants on the underground floor. Today is the second day of the 8-day National Day holiday. Compared with yesterday, the popularity has not decreased at all. On the contrary, it has become more lively. There are crowds of people in the open-air square. There are hot songs and dances, as well as lucky draws and interactive games. The marketing department of the mall has obviously put a lot of thought into it. Children are brought by their parents to the children's playground and trampoline, and they are so happy that they shout and shout. For the elderly, the supermarket has free tastings and gifts. After shopping, you can also watch performances for free in the square. It is really too comfortable. As for those young couples or teenage students, they either went to the cinema, KTV, arcade, or to play script killing games or escape rooms. Luo Wen found a relatively quiet corner and scanned the crowd from time to time. After not finding the target, he turned his attention to those interesting things. Although he had been standing here for an hour and rejected a total of 15 young girls who came forward to ask for WeChat, and there were 3 minors who were pushed over by their companions, Luo Wen rarely spoke to those blushing girls, except shaking his head. It's 10:30. If you don't come, I should have a legitimate reason to explain to my aunt, right? At 10:25, Luo Wen didn't wear a watch, nor did he take out his cell phone. He could easily scan the current time from the cell phone screens that were everywhere. He thought he was stood up, but he didn't expect that the person would show up again. Two young girls walking side by side, holding milk tea in their hands, had already walked to the center of the square. At this time, they looked around and took out their cell phones in cell phone cases. Beep buzz hello, no need to call, I'm here. Ah. Wan Lingling or Zhang Fenfang. They didn't expect that a gentle and magnetic voice suddenly sounded behind them, and then a handsome boy came into their eyes. This is not handsome, it's completely inhumane. Hello, I'm Wan Lingling, she is my friend Zhang Fenfang, you can call her Xiaofan, or Xiaofang. Sorry, we were stuck in traffic. By the way, would you like some milk tea? Wan Lingling was no longer as calm and composed as before. Her heart was beating faster and her eyes were full of peach blossoms. She was almost leaving her bestie and the sunny boy in front of her to find a quiet place where no one was around to be alone. Huh? Peach blossoms? Luo Wen looked at the drink handed over by the girl with a strange look in his eyes. This was obviously the fruit milk tea that girls liked. I'm afraid she didn't intend to buy it for him at the beginning. Oh, no, my name is Luo Wen, nice to meet you. Chapter 236 Sorry, we are not suitable. Oh, so handsome. His temperament is so fascinating. Wan Lingling was dizzy and was glad that she was careful when she went out today and did not dress too vulgarly or too exaggerated, but went for the girl next door style. Otherwise, the clean and handsome young man walking in front of her would not be so polite to invite them to sit down. Oh, if I had known, I would not bring Fenfang with me. What if she was tempted by my beauty and tried to steal my girl? Well, no need to be prepared. Wan Lingling turned her head and saw her best friend Zhang Fangfan's face, which was almost written with the words I like him, I want to date him. There are many cute little cakes on the counter of the dessert shop, but the key is that the place is very empty and there are few people sitting inside. It is probably because the prices of the goods are too high and do not meet the consumption level of this non-central city. Look, what do you want to eat? I'll help you place the order. Luo Wen sat at a table against the wall and gently pushed the menu on the table to the two girls opposite. He took out his mobile phone and scanned the quarter code on the desktop. Following the trend of the times, it is now very popular to order food without anyone, and Luo Wen can only follow the local customs. The two girls are not people of great good or great evil. Just looking at their faces, except that their peach blossoms are a little prosperous, they are not people with narrow minds. Of course, according to Luo Wen's criteria for judging great evil people, the two girls in front of him are naturally harmless little white rabbits. But in the minds of ordinary people, reality, materialism, money worship, greed and vanity are all suitable for them. Luo Wen's character is not so unkind. What's more, he has to go back and report to his aunt and mother. Naturally, it is impossible for him to look at the face, then use the key watching technique, and then use a set of excuses to evade his elders, right? Ah, the food here is a little too expensive. How about we go have a cup of coffee? They can be restrained or let go. On the way here, the two of them obviously did not have this attitude, but in front of Luo Wen, they suddenly became cautious. Oh, it's okay, I'll treat you, just order whatever you want. Hey, after confirming that Luo Wen was not speaking sarcastically, the two girls looked at the imported chocolate desserts on the menu, as well as those small cakes with 2 zeros, and their eyes were overwhelmed. Aren't you going to eat? So sweet, so smooth, the delicious food, plus the handsome and generous man sitting in front of them. Wan Lingling and Zhang Fenfang only felt that their appetites became better. Oh, I don't like to eat things that are too sweet. You don't have to worry about me. Then we won't be polite. Luo Wen flipped through the menu in his hand, and although the two girls opposite wanted to act like ladies, they eventually succumbed to the temptation of food. Besides, the two girls were nearly 170 centimeters tall and weighed less than 100 kilograms. There was no need to be deliberately pretentious and hard on their stomachs. Normally, they couldn't afford to buy these things with their wages. If they lose their good figures, they would have no money for clothes and cosmetics. How could they find the right person they wanted? The two didn't eat much. After a cup of colorful ice cream and 2 exquisite pastries, although they felt they could have another one, reason finally overcame appetite. Wan Lingling still remembered that she was here for a blind date today. By the way, Luo Wen, what do you do for a living? Have you bought a house in Jiangling district? Wan Lingling asked the question in a very natural tone, without any pretense, just like the questions that men and women would ask when they meet for a blind date in today's society. After all, she sat down and spent more time with him for the sake of the handsome guy. Well, I bought it. I work. It's the early stage of my business. I don't have any income for the time being. Huh. Then did you buy your car yourself, or did your family pay for it? Wan Lingling didn't see what kind of car Luo Wen drove. She only heard that it was a BMW. She now felt that Luo Wen had met 90% of her requirements. If he was more perfect, she would decide to continue to contact this handsome guy. I bought it myself. What? Are you afraid that you will have to help me pay off the loan? No, I'm just curious, haha. Wan Lingling, right? I also want to ask you 2 questions. I hope you can answer them truthfully. Yeah, then ask. Do you have any plans for your future? And what do you think of me? Don't worry, just tell me. This is the first time we meet. After we get familiar with each other, the answers may change. What kind of test is this? Or is he deliberately making small talk? Wan Lingling and Zhang Fenfang are a little unsure. He has a car, a house, and good looks. Although he is not a rich second generation, but a poor first generation entrepreneur, they still have a kind of itch in their hearts. They want to know more and see more clearly. I hope I can be a full-time wife in the future, and I can stay at home to take care of my husband and children. As for you, I think you meet my standards for choosing a spouse. What he said was actually the truth. Luo Wen was really a little surprised. He even used his mind perception. He thought that the blind date on the other side would talk about something else, or use a diversion method to divert him. Oh, I see. Thank you for taking the time to meet me today. I'm sorry, we are not suitable. What is not suitable? Why don't you play by the rules? Why don't you try to chase me? I'm easy to get, the kind that can be obtained as soon as I get it. Luo Wen felt that he had underestimated the world. Not everyone is so hypocritical or deep-minded. At least today's young people, although their values no longer conform to the traditional impression, but they also dare to admit their desires, instead of hiding them, and giving people a sense of double dealing. Well, okay, if it's not suitable, then it's not suitable. Anyway, we didn't lose anything by eating your meal today. Haha, if you didn't let go just now, you can order again, and I'll pay the bill together. Hey, you are really a weird person, then we won't be polite to you. Love between men and women requires mutual consent. Girls can use tricks, and men are not all fools. In the end, everyone is still the same. One is willing to fight, and the other is willing to be beaten. Why don't crazy men and resentful women happen to ugly men and ugly women? In every touching love story, the protagonist of the story is at least handsome, and has regular features. Therefore, all the injustice and imbalance in the mortal world are actually nothing more than 2 points, insufficient ability or too much desire. And like Luo Wen today, he realized a very simple truth. Wan Lingling and Zhang Fenfang also feasted their eyes, ate a big meal, and enjoyed a short period of pleasure. There are too many things that cannot be obtained, and everyone holds onto them tightly and is reluctant to let go. Such people and plots can only come from works of art, but in real life, such people are either in jail or are negative examples. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237. I'm just passing by. At 11:30 am, Ziwan Studio had very good business today. It had been busy since the opening in the morning. Even the boss, Wen Kaiang, who is also a designer, came out of her own studio to help Fan Jiaying with the sales and cashier work. However, there was a sign on the door saying temporarily closed. Fan Jiaying took Ye to the food street in the mall, saying that she was taking her to eat first. In fact, there was an uninvited guest in the store. He had scary red bloodshot eyes and a strong smell on his body that made people feel sick. Ye's first reaction was to hide behind him, as if she was afraid of him. He was untidy and looked like an addicted gambler. Fan Jiaying thought he was a drug addict. Alas, Sister Kyung didn't let me call the big boss, saying that it was her private matter, but that man looked like he was here to ask for money. What should I do? Sister, my mother won't be in danger, right? If dad can't get the money, he will beat my mother. The pitiful little Ye held Fan Jiaying's hand, her big eyes full of worry and fear. Yeah, how about we call your uncle Luo? Yeah, okay. Sister Kyung, who doesn't rest at ordinary times, why did she put up a sign saying she was temporarily closed today? Luo Wen was holding 2 snacker skin bags and a mooncake gift box in his hands. He didn't care about the pedestrians at all and looked at him with surprise. He was probably curious about why the young and handsome brother looked like a countryman and looked so rustic. Bang! When Luo Wen was wondering, there was a sound of something being knocked over in the shop's workshop. He looked over and saw a man yelling hysterically at Wen Kyung. The broken computer monitor on the ground was red and green, obviously scrapped. Don't tell me that. I don't care if you have found a stepfather for Ye or not. I don't care which old man opened your shop. You are too shameless. My daughter, why do you let her live in this environment? Hurry up and give me mental compensation, or I will come here every day to make trouble. Although the man has a big frame and is nearly 180 centimeters tall, he is extremely thin, abnormal. At this time, his words are incoherent, and he is full of violent aura. Wen Kyung, with tears in her eyes, still looked so fragile. The occasional confusion in her eyes before turned into strength and resistance. Go away. You still know that Ye is your daughter. Have you fulfilled your responsibilities as a father? You are still asking me for mental damage compensation. I'm afraid you have damaged your brain from gambling. Go, or I will call the police. Bang, click, the glass door was opened from the outside, and the 2 quarreling men and women in the room turned their heads to look outside. Why did Wen come here suddenly today? Who is this person? A gigolo? Sister Kyung, where is Ye? Did Fan Jiaying take her out for dinner? Bang, Luo Wen took all the things to the back corner and opened the glass door of the studio. He stood behind the trembling and furious Wen Kyung very naturally. Oh, Ye was taken to the basement by Jiaying to have dinner. Isn't today National Day? Why don't you stay at home with your family and come to me? Wen Kyung tried to relax her expression while wiping away the tears from the corners of her eyes with the back of her hand. Wen Kyung obviously didn't want Luo Wen to see her like this. But before Luo Wen could finish his words, his phone suddenly vibrated. Hello. Oh, I see. I'm in your store now. Okay, then you take Ye to eat first. I'll come to you later. Is it Jiaying? Luo Wen ignored the man who looked him up and down, as if he was air, although the air in the closed workshop was already turbid and smelly at this time. And Wen Kyung didn't seem to pay attention to her ex-husband who came to the door, but smiled and chatted with Luo Wen about other topics. They just went out for a while. There must be a lot of people outside. You didn't run into them. Little white face? Are my wife and daughter being supported by you now? The man's shrunken features, if restored to normal, would surely be a very handsome appearance, but now, he was sweaty and smelly, as if he hadn't showered for 10 days or half a month. The clothes he wore were also full of stains and grease. The pair of leather shoes on his feet were also peeling and covered with dust. Coupled with his impatient and nervous face, if people saw him outside, they would probably subconsciously stay away from him. You can call me by my name, Luo Wen. I don't like people calling me by that. Are you Kyung's ex-husband? Luo Wen stood at the door. Just by listening to the few words they quarreled, and Wen Kyung's attitude towards him, he had guessed the identity of this person. So when he spoke to him, although his tone was calm, his face became colder and colder. In other words, he could decide life and death with just one word, and he walked through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. This was the first time someone dared to call him a little white face in front of him. HMPH, Luo Wen. Fine, I won't argue with you anymore. I'll tell you this now. My ex-wife and my biological daughter are obviously related to you now. Since you like to keep them, then you can keep them. I don't want them anyway. The man's words made Wen Qiang tremble again. It was unknown whether it was because of anger, regret, or both. Shut up. Do you still have any shame? I've divorced you. Why do you come to me and tell people this? Luo Wen didn't ask the man's name. Even if Wen Qiang was angry, she didn't mention it on her own initiative. It seemed that she would feel sick if she said it out of her own mouth. Shut up. What does a man's words have to do with you, a woman? The man suddenly became furious and shouted at Wen Qiang. I'm afraid he still thought that he was still the head of the family like before. How about this? I won't ask you for more. Just give me 200,000 first. Buy one get one free. You won't lose anything, right? Although my wife looks 2 years older than you, she's not bad looking, and the key is, she's also very useful when sleeping at night, and my daughter is also cute and pretty, just in time to save you from having another child. So, I didn't ask you for more than 200,000. I've also inquired about the market conditions of this store, and it costs at least hundreds of thousands to open it. You spend 200,000 to buy peace of mind. It's not expensive at all, isn't it? Scoundrel, self-righteous, or simply say that he is a broken jar. Luo Wen didn't know what words to use to describe the man in front of him, or just a two-legged beast. Luo Wen's face was calm at this time, and there was no other expression except calmness, and the cold aura on his body suddenly stopped. Yes, why should he be angry with such a person who has no dignity and no bottom line? Evil god spell, an invisible wave, suddenly shot out from Luo Wen's pupils, directly into the eyes of the man opposite. The arrogant and fearless expression of the man opposite suddenly froze. Here are 2,000 yuan. Take it, or I call the police. You choose one. I choose money. Luo Wen took out all the cash from his wallet and put it on the table, which was snatched away by the man. And he seemed to be suddenly stared at by some poisonous snake or beast. He opened the door and fled out. There was obviously shade on the roadside on the wide road outside, and the sun in the sky was not as scorching as before, but the man's forehead was constantly sweating, and his mouth was very thirsty. Wen, I'm sorry to bother you again today. The 2,000 yuan will be deducted from my dividends. Desolate, helpless, and fortunate, Wen Qiang's heart was full of mixed feelings. As for her ex-husband, she seemed to be accustomed to his neurotic behavior just now, and didn't think there was anything wrong. He just wanted money. Luo Wen gave it to her, and naturally he left. However, since he found this place, I'm afraid trouble will follow in the future. It's up to you to decide. Let's go and have dinner first. Yaya is waiting for us. Haha, the evil spell is more frightening than the curse spell, but it is almost fatal. Because it will suddenly choke you when you drink water, always miss you when you wipe your butt, and suddenly blow sand into your eyes when you walk on the road. And considering that this guy's already plagued by bad luck, I'm afraid he will have a mental breakdown in a few days. He will either be locked up in a mental hospital, or have an accident in a trance. Oh, okay. Chapter 238. It's time to take action. It was already 4:30 in the afternoon when Luo Wen drove back home from the district. He did not say any words of comfort to Wen Qiang, nor did he mention her ex-husband again. He just concentrated on accompanying Yaya, making her frowning expression become carefree again. In the adult world, no one has it easy. Luo Wen is growing up rapidly with time. In Wen Qiang's eyes, Luo Wen has changed from his previous maturity and impulsiveness. Every once in a while, sometimes even just a few days, he seems to be a different person. He is calm, indifferent, and graceful, and waves goodbye at the right time. He has grown up, not physically, but in his thoughts and personality. He looked at her with his eyes, without avoiding or dodging, but as vast as the stars, treating her as a familiar friend. Is it really strange? Starfire, help me contact the star. Ding. Captain, Starfire reports to you. Luo Wen set up an independent intelligence system in his home, named Starfire, and in the huge spherical battleship on the far back of the moon, Starfire has taken on the role of the battleship's intelligent brain. The intelligent programs of both are a fusion of Jarvis and the original artificial intelligence of the battleship. According to the main body, that is, the quantum computer matrix, size, power supply and loading modules, the functions realized are different, and the computing power is also different. However, the degree of intelligence is the same. Of course, if data sharing is cut off, according to their respective positioning, as well as the scale and purpose of the main body computer, Starfire will definitely evolve faster than Starfire. For example, now, Xinghuo silently follows Luo Wen's instructions, like a well-behaved and sensible little housekeeper, while Xingchen has a bit of the capable style of a soldier, or the special temperament of mature queen. Although artificial intelligence has no gender, Luo Wen, as the owner of the highest authority, seems to be subtly developing towards femininity. From the tone of their speaking, Luo Wen can also perceive the subtle changes and differences. Send an engineering ship back, and the material converter will be temporarily sent back to Blue Star. I need to build a departure base here. It's time for us to speed up the evolution of Blue Star. The order has been confirmed, and the priority has been changed. Captain, I have been waiting for this day. Mom, I will be out for a while recently. You can cook for yourselves. Hey. What's wrong? Is there something to do? Ren Gixiang was sitting on the sofa watching TV series and saw Luo Wen rushing upstairs as soon as he got home. Now he finally came down and asked him how the blind date went today. Oh, I plan to start a company and build a factory, and I went to complete some formalities recently. The blind date is off, and the other party and I are not suitable. Please thank your aunt for me, and don't introduce anyone to me anymore. Ah. Why did you suddenly think of starting a company? And why is that girl not suitable? Luo Wen's mother always felt that something was wrong with Luo Wen today, but he was still the same person, but the feeling he gave seemed to have changed. He used to do things calmly, but now he seemed to be serious and anxious. Whether it's getting married or dating, I have no plans for the time being. I want to do something serious. If I change my mind in the future, I will naturally bring my daughter-in-law back to you. Okay, since when Z wants to pursue a career, let's not always use things like blind dates and marriage to influence him. I support you. Okay, you two father and son are joining hands. To say that I'm ignorant? Forget it. Since you want to pursue a career, then go ahead. As long as you are not alone in middle age, I don't bother to care. Ren Gixiang and Luo Deke vaguely felt Luo Wen's true thoughts. Whether they were willing or not, they couldn't say anything more. After all, the eldest son was not like the second son. He was very independent before. Now they only hope that he doesn't have to be a bachelor all his life. They have nothing else to ask for. At night, a transport ship with energy invisibility turned on, pulling many engineering nanomechas and a dreamy black technology, quietly hovered over Luojia village. Luo Wen, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed in meditation, put aside all distractions and continued to practice diligently. The next day, Luo Wen drove a car, counted all the liquid funds on hand, and went straight to the town's Land and Resources Bureau and Industry and Commerce Bureau. It was not the first time that Luo Wen had personally touched everything. Moreover, Mingquan Town, which belongs to Jiangling District, is a county-level administrative unit with slow economic development and relatively backward. Agricultural planting, leisure tourism, and mineral resources are the three pillar industries of Mingquan Town. Some small factories and manufacturing industries are not even available in Jiangling District, let alone within the scope of Hucheng. Nowadays, a high-tech enterprise with a registered capital of 2 billion yuan and applying for registration of Xinghuo technology wants to settle in Mingquan Town. No matter which department Luo Wen goes to, he will receive the highest standards of courtesy and reception. For Mingquan Town, which is vast and covers nearly 800 square kilometers, and most of it is hilly, Luo Wen wanted a company location close to the national highway and without farmland. The leaders really took out the map and let you choose. Even if Luo Wen took a fancy to the town government and the surrounding areas, they were willing to move immediately. Finally, Luo Wen followed the data obtained after the Xingchen scan and referred to its suggestions. He took an area next to Qinglang Lake. It is 2 kilometers away from the national highway, surrounded by mountains on 2 sides and water on 1 side. The only cement road to enter is because a section of the embankment of Qinglang Lake was washed away before. Later, in order to facilitate inspection, a 5-kilometer long single-lane cement road was specially built inside. The land that Luo Wen took was an uneven valley. There was no village for several kilometers around. It was roughly an irregular square with a side length of about 2 kilometers and a total area of 4.2 square kilometers. The rocks and hills inside were tens of meters high, and short people could walk directly up. Some of them were covered with crooked pine trees, while others were densely covered with thatch and thorns. All were bare, full of dead branches and rotten leaves. The leaders of various departments wanted to persuade Luo Wen. This outstanding young man from the local area chose this deep mountain forest. In addition to retreating, it was really not suitable for starting a company and building a factory. After all, the supporting facilities and construction costs were higher than those in areas with convenient transportation. However, Luo Wen was the one who made the decision. He was willing to pay real money. The leaders with helpless faces had no choice but to sign land transfer agreement with Luo Wen. The term of use is 40 years, and the transfer fee is a total of 400 million. Spark Technology enjoys the priority right to renew the lease and the right to transfer the surrounding land. Chapter 239. A big fight. What? You want to build an 8-lane highway, and you only give a 1-month construction period? Although Mingquan Town has a permanent population of less than 500,000, it is full of talents in all walks of life. For example, Qianhong Engineering Co. Limited is a well-known company that specializes in road construction in Jiangling District and infrastructure renovation. And Luo Wen's procedures will take another half a month to get all in hand. This is a special case, otherwise it will take 1 or 2 months. It's not easy for ordinary people. The total length is only 2 kilometers. Although large machinery is needed to level the land and widen the road, your company does this. 200 million. Haha, Mr. Luo, happy cooperation. The quotation for building a highway is only 40 to 50 million per kilometer. It's just building an 8-lane highway with a quotation of 200 million. The middle-aged man who used to look disgusted with the short construction period now has a beer belly and immediately shook hands with Luo Wen with a happy face. In Xia country, as long as the money is in place, tiling the Great Wall and reclaiming land are all no problem. Otherwise, the title of infrastructure maniac is not in vain. Xingchen, has the design drawing of Xinghuo Industrial Park come out? Luo Wen ran all day, and it was dark when he returned home. After eating the dinner that his mother specially left for him, he went to the study on the 3rd floor and prepared to burn the midnight oil. Luo Wen is such a person. If he doesn't do it, he likes to devote himself to it and make sure to do it the best. Unlike the parallel universe and those different time and space, Luo Wen can find a third-party company and entrust it to others to speed up the progress for him. In the main world, even the trivial matters such as company registration and dealing with officials, he does it himself and dares not slack off at all. Perhaps, in his heart, other worlds can have problems, but in his own world, Luo Wen wants to be perfect, and everything must be within his control. Captain, according to your requirements, the characteristics of geological features, and the needs of future development, we have listed 10 optimal architectural renderings. The holographic projection projected 10 different styles of minimalist and technological images in front of Luo Wen. As Luo Wen focused his eyes, the single image also changed. 3-dimensional stereograms, 3 view drawings, and structural details were displayed one by one. Xingchen, according to plan number 10, send out engineering mechas now to carry out construction in the underground of the entire industrial park first. The stability of the underground structure must be guaranteed. The use of material converters is authorized to convert super strong nanoalloys with all efforts, and the assembly of nanomecha factories is prioritized. Ding, the order has been confirmed. The priority has been changed. The transport ship is starting, and the coordinates have been locked. Time is like water. Luo Wen goes out early and comes back late every day. He is not supervising on the construction site, but actually to confirm the underground base in the valley. He did not make any noise, and then was accidentally discovered by the road workers. After confirming that there would be no accidents, he was relieved to do other preparations. Sometimes he went to the city to find various purchasing units and tried to create normal construction activities. At the same time, in order to cover up his tracks, Luo Wen spent 500 million yuan to find a trading company to import or purchase a large number of production lines and mechanical equipment. By the end of the month, a wide, black asphalt road without electricity replaced the previous winding cement road. There were 8 lanes in both directions, and there was a reserved street lamp base at intervals on both sides. However, it was empty inside, with no wires or street lights. There was a 2-meter wide flower bed, and then a 3-meter wide non-motorized vehicle lane outside, and a 3-meter wide sidewalk leading straight to the Spark Industrial Park. The drainage system and circuit system were all reserved for pipelines. The construction was carried out according to the highest standards. After all, Luo Wen's 200 million yuan could not be wasted. Drainage, after calculation by Xingchen, has reached the standard. However, Luo Wen was somewhat dissatisfied with the so-called best street lamp recommended by Mr. Huang. It was not a cost-effective problem, but the brightness was too low and the service life was a bit short. So Luo Wen decided to use his own products instead. Anyway, the Spark Industrial Park was only fenced off for the time being. In the future, the first floor of the factory building inside was just used to cover up the truth. In fact, the fully automatic assembly line was buried deep underground. No one except Luo Wen could enter. Luo Wen was also considering whether it was necessary to expand the industrial park after it was built in the future and then slowly recruit people. Or was he trying to cover up the fact that the underground base existed? Ding, the 5th plane shuttle will be carried out in 12 hours. Please be prepared. Did time pass so quickly? Luo Wen looked at the scorching sun above his head and couldn't help but reach out and touch his head. He was so busy that he almost forgot. With his current physique and the spiritual power lingering around him, how could he sweat? At night, Luo Wen rarely got off an early shift. He returned home early at 2 p.m. and made a dinner for his boss's mother. In fact, Xinghuo Industrial Park is only more than 10 minutes drive from Luojia village, and the distance is less than 10 kilometers. Luo Wu has already bought a car and is waiting for the 14th of next month. The old house of Luo Wen's family was demolished and rebuilt, and it is now being renovated to remove the smell. It happened to be a weekend, and he could take a few days off. Luo Wu and his family could drive to pick up Zhang Yu's family. First, they wanted to see the new house bought in Jiangling district, and also come here to play. By the way, let the parents of both sides meet and discuss the marriage. As for the engagement, Luo Wen's parents, of course, had to go to Zhang Yu's hometown in person. They still understood these rules and didn't say that they would just fool around. Ding, Captain, the main building of the lunar forward base has been completed. Do you want to proceed with the second phase of expansion? You can start. In the picture in front of Luo Wen, densely packed nanorobots and engineering machinery are all ready to go, heading towards the end of the closed passage. In the lunar base, different areas have shown different scenes and pictures. The production area is divided into food supply and material supply, synthetic meat, synthetic water, nano spacesuits, machinery, tools, nanoalloys, nanoworms are constantly produced on the assembly line and then sent to their respective storage warehouses for neat placement. The living area is a perfect fusion of technology and plants, relaxed and comfortable. The weapons area displays a variety of weapons, nano armor, and armed warships. The central activity area, a vast and huge square, the central control hub, and the central administrative building. The lower floor also has a life support system, an energy center, and a computing center. All the products of level 2 technological civilization have been brought into reality one by one. The first phase of the forward base, which can accommodate 1 million people, has been completed, and the second phase of construction has begun. This time, it will be to ensure the needs of 10 times the population. Moreover, with the first phase of scale and standard results, although the second phase has a larger amount of work, the construction time will be greatly shortened. Chapter 240 New Mission. Whoosh boom thunder roared. Thunder rolled in the sky, and the wind and rain rushed. One side of the wing of an international flight was smoking, and broke into 2 pieces. Then it was blown into the boundless sea by the strong wind. In the cabin, no matter what skin type or hair color the passengers were, whether they were in economy class, business class, or first class, they were all in panic. Screams, prayers, and cries were all covered by the wind and thunder. Mayday, mayday. Shit, fuck. Call. This is United International Airlines, number Z5031, requesting rescue from nearby airspace aircraft and ships on the sea. In the cockpit where English and Chinese were intertwined, the captain, co-pilot, and backup pilot were all busy on the operating console. However, without a wing, it was obviously impossible to complete a safe landing with only 2 engines on one wing. While a sharp and piercing sound rang out, the beautiful stewardess, who was originally wearing a seatbelt and comforting the passengers on the radio, all screamed and stopped moving because the connection of the plane's wing was torn open by the strong wind and airflow. The oxygen mask automatically lost pressure and fell off, and the alarm that had already sounded became more and more urgent, making people panic. Boom. The plane broke into 2 pieces, carrying nearly 1,000 passengers and crew members, and fell to the sea. A shadow like a giant beast quietly fell on the sea surface, and as the cockpit pilot hurriedly operated without fear, everyone on the plane slowly approached the shadow through the rain curtain. It was an island. It was land. The hope that had been rekindled when they saw the land, as the plane disintegrated, eventually turned into wailing all over the sky. Ding, the mission is released. Survival on a deserted island. The time limit is at least 3 years. The mission reward is determined by the number of survivors. There is no penalty for failure. Luo Wen opened his eyes, and the storm on the sea suddenly disappeared. He was actually hung on a big tree by the system, in a very embarrassing way. Snap. The white coastline in front of Luo Wen stretched for dozens of kilometers, and behind him was a towering cliff, as well as endless mountains and tall dense forests. He just used a little strength, and the hanging pants broke the branch. Don't ask what he used, just ask telekinesis. Suspended in the air, slowly fell onto the soft and delicate white beach. In front of him, in addition to the clear blue sea water, there were a large number of colorful suitcases, and a crashed plane that was inserted diagonally into the coastline, revealing most of the wreckage of the plane. Why does this plane only have a head and no butt? Looking around, Luo Wen finally found a similar object with black smoke on the coastline about 10 kilometers away. Wow, the waves hit the beach, and while delivering some luggage, there were also some seriously injured people lying unconscious, and dead bodies that had no breath. Although the number of survivors is related to the system reward, Luo Wen has always been cautious, and has the habit of making plans before taking action. Besides, there is no punishment for failure, so he is panicking. He didn't suffocate even when lying on the sea, and there was a slight heartbeat. It seems that the time when the plane fell should not exceed a few minutes. The key is that none of the survivors who were groaning escaped from the seat. After analysis, Luo Wen also roughly knew some information. Another parallel universe, without the existence of extraordinary power. The divine sense swept through everyone one by one. A total of 321 people, 165 women, 156 men, 31 deaths, 40 serious injuries, and 250 minor injuries. Why is there no one safe and sound? Isn't this nonsense? Is a plane crash a joke? The least it can be is a mild concussion. If it was, Luo Wen wouldn't be standing on the beach, observing the situation carefully like nothing happened, right? I feel dizzy. After a short period of dizziness and adverse reactions in the body, the sequelae of weightlessness are subsiding from those who were slightly injured. Wow, I can still hear the groans of those unlucky people who were accidentally injured from time to time. Many people have already shaken their heads, unbuckled their seat belts, jumped from their seats into the chest-deep water, and slowly moved towards the coast. Save me, help, help. My legs, help, there's a shark. Wow, the great white sharks are only as thick as a normal person's thigh. It should be said that they are still babies. They were frightened by the violent movements of the crowd, and fled into the deep sea. Help, my leg cramps, help me. Luo Wen felt the temperature of the sea water with his hands. It should be fine, not so cold, at least more than 10 degrees Celsius. Maybe the temperature is a little lower in the deep water. However, it's only a few dozen meters away, and someone's leg cramps. I'm afraid it's because they lack exercise in their daily lives. The more they are afraid, the more likely they are to get into trouble. Sir, can you come over and help me drag those survivors up? It's strange that the beautiful blonde and blue-eyed stewardess speaks standard Chinese, while some black-haired and black-eyed survivors shout in English. Of course, I'm happy to. With a snap, Luo Wen kicked his feet and threw the wet white sneakers on the beach. He's not stupid. Although the system gave him a shining debut as a survivor, how could his shoes be dry? After all, everyone was soaking in the sea, and he was the only one who was blown to the tree and hung there without any injuries. This is too unreasonable. Luo Wen worked very hard and seriously. The wet sweater on his body was dried by the sun. Emily, who was a head shorter than Luo Wen, was a flight attendant of United International Airlines. She was from the lighthouse country and was 24 years old. Anyway, taking advantage of the opportunity to save people, the brave and fearless, very beautiful blonde stewardess explained her identity to Luo Wen. Oh, I almost forgot that she was a flight attendant in the business class, so she didn't doubt Luo Wen's identity. Here, Emily, our captain is here. The flight attendants were not only blonde beauties, but also black-haired and black-eyed Asians, and beauties from Eastern Europe. As for the male flight attendants, Luo Wen didn't have much curiosity to greet them. He was really lucky. Perhaps when the aircraft was first designed, the safety seats of the flight attendants were in a special position. Except for a Korean flight attendant whose calf was pierced by a steel frame, the others were only slightly injured and did not affect their movements. Okay, I'll be right there. Although Emily is a head shorter than Rowan, she has been busy until now, and her clothes are already in a mess. The black stockings she wears have been soaking in the water. Through the clear sea water, her curves are even more exposed. Even the high heels have been thrown away for a long time. With her panting breath, the majestic and white chest, against the background of the uniform, looks very tempting. Fortunately, Rowan glanced at it and didn't pay attention to it anymore. Instead, he carefully paid attention to everyone's situation, collected useful information, and judged which suitcases were useful and which were useless. Luo, I'll trouble you here. Thank you so much. Haha, Western girls generally have more three-dimensional facial features and better figures, but they have large pores, or freckles, body odor and other demerits. Emily seems to be insulated from these, with delicate and smooth skin. The white skin of white people makes her radiant. That's right, no wonder she is a business class flight attendant. Oh, you're welcome. Helping each other is what we should do most. Wait a minute, I'll come find you. Bye. Emily smiled sweetly and walked towards her colleagues. She also had a good impression of Luo in front of her. Although she had never met him before, after a short time of getting along, this handsome Asian guy named Luo Wen was undoubtedly a very kind and optimistic person. Perhaps, after this incident, they can get to know each other better. Chapter 241 Beautiful Island. Looking down from mid-air, the entire nameless island is an irregular oval shape, surrounded by fine white sandy beaches. It is impossible to tell which area of the planet this place is. However, a nameless island with an area of more than hundreds of thousands of square kilometers should not have been discovered by the world, right? However, a world where such a large plane crash can happen, and Luo Wen is involved, may be a mysterious event created by the system. 1 hour later, with the joint participation of Luo Wen and some survivors, all the passengers were finally transferred to the clean white beach, regardless of whether they were alive or dead. Luo Wen also roughly understood the background of this world. English and Chinese are universal languages around the world, which means that the 20 billion people on the entire planet have received bilingual education since childhood. It seems that the entire planet seems to be larger than the blue planet, where Luo Wen is. Luo Wen can also feel the difference in gravity. At least the land area must be much larger, otherwise how can it feed 20 billion people? Oh, damn it, didn't they say that the probability of a plane crash is 1 in a million? It's over, it's over. Looking from the air, I thought such a big island must have people living on it. Now the satellite phone doesn't work, and our phone has no signal. We're all dead. Wife, Take care of our daughter. I'll go see if there's anything to eat or drink in the luggage. Shh, keep your voice down. If everyone reacts and so many people rush in, we won't be able to grab anything. This time the plane was distressed. If we want to survive, water and food are the top priorities. Relying on coconut trees and the wild seafood on the reefs can't feed these hundreds of people. Don't forget that there are more people in the back half of the plane, and we must prepare early. On the beach, some were pointing to the sky and cursing, some were discussing countermeasures in groups of 3 or 5, and there were also many people crying and looking lonely, especially the corpses that were temporarily put aside, and the surviving family members, which one of them was not in tears, crying loudly. The solitary dazed people, the people who were still trying to find the cell phone signal, the people who were looking around, the adapters who were familiar with the unfamiliar environment, and a small number of smart and calm people either started to form gangs or quietly went to collect supplies. The focus was on the suitcases floating on the sea. Hey, Luo, you are really strong. Several security guards on our plane have been busy for a long time and are now sitting on the ground to rest. Luo Wen's grey sweater was taken off by him and wrapped around his waist. The upper body was just a white t-shirt, and the lower body was knickerbockers and sneakers that were put on again. The streamlined muscles of the gods, even if only half of the arms were exposed, and the shape of the chest and abdomen underneath were vaguely visible, all made Emily, who was full of anxiety, feel a great sense of security and relaxation. She didn't know why. Obviously the captain had her colleagues and a strong security guard beside him, but Emily always missed the comfortable feeling around Luo Wen, so she sneaked over to find him. The island is very hot, which can be deduced from the temperature of the seawater. The temperature is at least 27 or 28 degrees. The sun has not yet climbed to the middle. I'm afraid that in 2 hours, the temperature will exceed 30 degrees Celsius sooner or later. Not to mention the survivors, who all took off their coats or found shade under the coconut trees to avoid the scorching sun. They just woke up from their sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the beautiful stewardess was preparing to give them breakfast. As a result, there were dark clouds and then violent storms. The navigation system of the plane failed. After more than an hour of senseless flight, it finally crashed. They sighed that life is too impermanent. Emily has taken off her stewardess vest, revealing a dark blue uniform. She is now wearing a white shirt with her sleeves unbuttoned and rolled up to her arms. She is wearing a knee-length skirt and black stockings with many hooks. I haven't seen her for a while. Emily probably came to her senses and felt that it affected her appearance, or she didn't want it to be a nuisance because of the hot weather. Now she has a pair of long white reflective legs, and her bare feet leave clear arches and toes on the beach. Oh, it's okay. It may be because I exercise regularly. Does the captain have any good suggestions now? Luo Wen smiled and changed the subject. Taking advantage of the troubled waters, he fished out a black mountaineering bag from the sea, and it was waterproof. Now he is sitting under a small coconut tree, skillfully opening his backpack and counting the things inside. Of course, it's all fake. Seeing Emily coming over with slightly pale lips, he kindly handed her a 500ml metal thermos cup filled with purified water. You are so lucky that you can find your backpack. We are in trouble. There were so many passengers on the plane, and the prepared meals were basically lost in the sea. Apart from a few medical kits and some emergency supplies, I'm afraid we won't have enough to share at noon today. Oh, by the way, this matter needs to be kept confidential. Don't tell anyone else. Emily realized it later. Her throat was burning and smoking. She touched the precious purified water a little and quickly closed the lid in her hand, and her palm with blue veins faintly visible was tightly holding the metal thermos cup, as if she was reluctant to part with it, and hesitated with difficulty whether to return it to Luo. Oh, I've always kept my mouth shut, so don't worry. Take the cup. Think of it as a gift from me to you when we first meet. Oh, thank you, Luo. Emily was inexplicably excited. She probably guessed the terrible challenge they were about to face. At this time, the thermos cup filled with pure water she received might be a precious material that was priceless. Her face was full of smiles, and her eyes were full of brilliance. She was just about to rush up and give Luo Wen a hot kiss. Jamie, you are the captain now, and all crew members should obey your arrangements. However, all our food and water added together are only enough for 100 people to consume in one day. There are also those seriously injured people who are in urgent need of medical supplies. The entire island is so large, and there is obviously no shortage of animals and fresh water in the forest, but in the unknown place, no one can guarantee the specific degree of danger. The speaker was a middle-aged man with black hair and black eyes. His expression was serious and his tone was full of calmness. However, the more than 20 crew members surrounding them could not stop the fear on their faces, and their hearts were full of fear of the unknown. No matter how calm the co-pilot was, he could not change the reality that they were about to face isolation, lack of food and fresh water. Zhang, you know, as a captain, everything I have learned, and the professional training I have received, are indeed related to this aspect. However, there are too many survivors, and everything is unknown. With only 4 safety officers and 4 pistols, we simply cannot manage so many people, nor can we guarantee their survival. In everyone's mind, the captain, who is regarded as the savior, is obviously considering more about his own survival and the lives of the crew members at this time. Is he going to abandon those passengers? Listen to me, there are 28 crew members in total, and only 1 flight attendant has a leg injury, and is unable to move. However, these supplies are enough for us to hold on for another 3 days. The airline may be able to find us. If we distribute these foods, it is estimated that they will only be enough for everyone to have lunch. The fastest response speed for emergency rescue will take at least 24 hours, so. Captain Jamie did not continue speaking, but everyone's heart was already dead silent. They were professionally trained, and flew around in the sky all day long. A huge island that did not appear on the map might be an alien's test site, or a dangerous place that no one dared to go to. Rescue? How could there be rescue? We agree with the captain's proposal. At this moment, we can't care about promoting the spirit of humanitarian rescue, because we can't protect ourselves. We have done our best to get all the passengers to the beach. 4 security officers with pistols on their waists were the first to express their intentions. And those crew members who were reluctant and hesitant at first also stood behind the captain. The co-pilot with a determined face turned his head and looked at the group of ignorant passengers who were searching for suitcases on the beach, and some idiots who were just staring blankly and crying, and had no idea of the crisis in front of them. Okay, if a man does not work for himself, he will be punished by heaven and earth. We must unite, but half of the supplies must be distributed, otherwise it will cause a mass riot. Our 4 guns can't stop so many people. Agree. This can be regarded as a last act of goodwill. Chapter 242 Nightfall. A group of birds suddenly flew from the forest to the coastline. It seemed that there was some danger in the middle of the forest that threatened their homes, so they had to flee. But the whole island was too big. The survivors who were listless or waiting were either drowsy under the coconut trees, or formed a team and headed towards the reefs or the cliffs behind them. There is never a lack of adventurous people in the world. It's just that those warning birds were not found from the direction of the survivors. At the same time, at another gathering place for survivors 10 kilometers away from the coastline, although there were more passengers, the entire tail was severely damaged, and the number of injured and dead was naturally more serious. Of the 600 or so passengers, only half survived, and there were still 2 missing for 300. However, the tail stored most of the luggage and emergency supplies, which allowed everyone to have a full lunch and still have more than half left. However, without the unified command of the captain, the few flight attendants could not manage the large number of economy class passengers at all. Many seriously injured were gathered under the shade of trees. The main force began to move to the front of the plane. Only 2 flight attendants and a few dozen relatives stayed to take care of the wounded. In the middle of the 2 groups of survivors, in addition to the distance of 10 kilometers, there is an estuary in the middle, which was washed by the river, to form a small plain. There is green grass everywhere. In addition to large herbivorous animals, some beasts with sharp teeth seem to be larger than the common carnivores on the planet, and their images seem to be a bit retro. Raw 2 long fangs are exposed directly outside, and cannot be completely retracted into the mouth. Rushing into the 2-meter high ugly group, there is a feeling of bullying the small with the big. Even if you cross the grassland, there is still a swampy mudflat. There are giant pythons with a diameter of 1 meter and a length of more than 5 meters, and there are also giant crocodiles of 7 or 8 meters all over it. Rocky hills, herds of deer, numerous carnivores, colorful venomous snakes, bizarre plants and creatures, like an ancient botanical garden, slowly extended into the forest. Raw hiss, the noise inside was even more terrifying, and just the sound was enough to scare people away. The further the beach extended towards the cliff, the scarcer and harder it was to walk. The area covered by the beach was only about 100 meters, and between the beach and the cliff, there was a bush several hundred meters wide, and an area full of rock piles, with small plants dotted in groups of 2 or 3. This gave new vitality to the people, who were worried about dinner. Haha, this rabbit is so stupid. It actually made a nest under the tree. It didn't even run away when it saw people. Crunch. It smells so good. These berries can be eaten by rabbits, so we should be able to eat them too. It's just right. I'm so thirsty. Hey, leave some for me. My water will boil soon. It's you who are nosy. You insisted that I boil such clean spring water. After all this time, you secretly ate all the berries I picked. Crackling dry branches and dead wood piles were everywhere. Those coconut shells were very useful fire starters. Although there were no lighters in the passenger's luggage, someone brought metal fire sticks. Not to mention, the captain also sent some waterproof matches to the passengers. There is food, drinking water, and beautiful scenery. If it weren't inappropriate, everyone really had the illusion of an island vacation. It's just that everyone has basically huddled together and divided into clearly defined teams of different sizes. This cast a layer of oppressive shadow over the overall, relaxed and pleasant atmosphere. Of course, there are a few people like Luo Wen who travel alone, but without exception, they are either eccentric, or experts in wilderness survival, or strong men who don't fit in. Those women with families are naturally with their families, and even women without families have their own friends, or are accepted by the small team they met again today. There are not many children, only about a dozen. Maybe it's the time for school to start, so they avoided this plane crash. And the elderly and pregnant women, who are obviously not suitable for long distance flights, are not so obvious. The entire group of survivors is basically young and middle-aged people between 20 and 50 years old, accounting for about 90%. Emily stayed with her colleagues at night. Although Luo Wen only observed the surrounding area all afternoon and didn't have much contact and communication with her, the blonde girl obviously had feelings for Luo Wen, so she always followed him until Luo Wen roasted a golden roast rabbit and brought her a bowl of delicious mushroom soup. The beautiful stewardess was called back by her colleagues with satisfaction. On the other side of the cliff, many adventure teams have gained a lot. At least the peaceful and happy rabbit group has lost 50% of its members. It shows how seriously this area has been harmed by the alien species of humans. Except for a spring bubbling from the cracks in the rocks, the water flow is very large and has formed a pool with a diameter of 5 meters. It just flows silently along the bottom of the cliff into the dark river or underground cave. No one knows. No wonder everyone was full of despair at the beginning, just because the water from the spring did not flow out to the beach. On the beach, there are large and small fires. Some people have begun to sleep with their luggage as pillows, while others are inexplicably excited. They introduce their information to the group of survivors they have just met, and chat about the outside world's occupations and hot topics. When you are well fed and warm, you will think about sex, and the same is true for hobbies. However, there are many people, and it is an open-air beach, so it is fine for couples to do some small actions. If they really want to do something, they still suppress their desire temporarily and don't dare to broadcast it live. It is strange to say that the cliff is very steep, and even a rock climbing enthusiast among the survivors has no way to start. Those extremely hard basalts seem to have withstood the test of time, and there is not even a cave or a temporary shelter. Of course, it may also be that everyone's range of activities has not exceeded 1 kilometer, so they haven't found it yet. However, as night falls, delicious or not, whether it is crabs, rabbit meat, or small sea fish caught and close in the sea, everyone can basically be regarded as having a full meal, not as hungry as at noon. The breathing and snoring on the beach began to increase slowly, and the branches added, before going to bed, continued to crackle and burn, bringing warmth to the survivors in the dark night, as well as a sense of security. Some comfort. Russell, the crowd of people, who were scattered all over the place, had basically fallen asleep. It was almost 12 o'clock. They had experienced adventures and escaped death during the day. It would be strange if they didn't want to sleep after eating and drinking. And on the sand 500 meters away, there were ridges, slowly approaching this side. I don't know if they ran out from the rocks under the cliff or from the sea. Just smelling the breath of humans, their movement speed is getting faster and faster. And they chose to appear in the middle of the night. I'm afraid that those who are good don't come, and those who come are not good. Aren't the sizes of these things a little too exaggerated? Besides, I haven't heard that they can do this. The art of sand escape. On two very tall coconut trees with a diameter of 50 centimeters, Luo Wen tied a sleeping net 1.5 meters above the ground. He was the most beautiful among the survivors. At this time, he was covered with a thermal blanket and looked up at the completely different clear starry sky. With a 100-meter alert divine sense, he also discovered this group of uninvited guests. The corners of his mouth also showed a slightly surprised and expectant expression. Although the number of survivors is directly linked to the reward, Luo Wen does not think it is his obligation. It is important for people to know themselves. It will take time for Luo Wen to judge who is worth saving. If you don't obey the arrangement and like to be self-righteous, the primitive jungle on the cliff, the hidden and dangerous atmosphere, Luo Wen dare not guarantee that everyone can survive for 3 years. Chapter 243 Gerbil. After the daytime experience, and with food and water being temporarily satisfied, even the captain and others who had received emergency avoidance training were careless and did not arrange for anyone to keep watch and relaxed their vigilance. Perhaps the armed security guards were not so obedient. After all, everyone was very tired, and those slightly smarter elites also injured physical fatigue and exhaustion, and followed Luo Wen, using clothes and ropes to wrap a simple hammock on the coconut tree and put themselves in it. And those teams who had free time to chat and exchange their feelings, neither had the initiative to collect enough ropes and clothes, nor could they find trees that were just right for building hammocks, and simply gave up the idea of a temporary shelter. Anyway, there were so many people on the beach, even if a man-eating beast came, it would be scared away by the crowd. A sharp scream cut through the sky, and also woke up the survivors who had just fallen asleep from their sleep. With the dim firelight, everyone was horrified to find that from the left and right sides of the beach, grey big rats about 30 to 40 centimeters tall and more than 1 meter long ran out from nowhere. Yes, they were rats, with sharp incisors, hairless claws, and long bold tails, just like the rats at home. However, under the illumination of the fire, the scalded eyes were so frightening, and the extremely swift figure and the cold and shining claws were also very frightening. And the fat black woman who was lying on the outermost edge and sleeping soundly was also the first unlucky person to be attacked. At this time, she was holding her neck that was bleeding, and she was able to stand up and flee to the center of the crowd. It seems that all her survival instincts were stimulated. Bang! Unfortunately, after running less than 5 meters, the fat woman, who weighed at least 90 kilograms, fell directly to the ground, twitching all over, and smelly black blood began to flow out of her 5 orifices. The wounds were bulging high. Everyone be careful, these rats are poisonous. Don't get bit by them. There were many people, and although there were many big rats, about 100 or so, their bodies were about the same size as dogs, not even as tall as dogs. They just had a long tail and shiny grey hair all over their bodies, which suddenly scared the survivors. Some brave men have taken the lead in calling the crowd to come closer to them, turned around and picked up torches from the fire, and began to wave them constantly to boost their momentum for themselves and everyone else. Help, help, they can burrow into the ground, help. A middle-aged fat man who was half a beat slower to react suddenly missed a step, and then a sharp tooth bit into his ankle, biting off the Achilles tendon directly, revealing an egg-sized gap. When he pulled his foot out and just shouted "Be careful," he began to foam at the mouth, his eyes went black, and he fell down with his head raised. Wow, at this moment, men and women were like headless flies, except for screaming. They ran around in panic, causing the small team that had been back to stabilize the formation to be accidentally pushed away by the crowd and fell on the beach. Ah. Ah. Screams were heard everywhere, and those big grey rats seemed to be afraid of the fire, but not that much. When they were close to the fire, they burrowed into the ground and attacked from the sand. In the dark place without the fire, there was a swish sound, and then rushed up and bit. They retreated as soon as they struck, and did not engage in further entanglement with others. Moreover, the position they attacked was basically no higher than the thigh area of a person. It seemed that these big grey rats were not good at jumping, but rather liked to burrow into the ground, and were good at running. Bang! With a gunshot, the captain and his party, who were close to the cliff, probably because of the rocky ground, the big grey rats could not find an attack point from there, and they actually kept their formation intact. 4 strong and sturdy security guards, each holding a gun in front, and the female flight attendant surrounded in the middle also had a simple torch in her hand, while the captain and the other men each had a large wooden stick in their hands, and some even had sharpened sticks. The hot weapons in the hands of the security guard suddenly made a loud noise, which made the originally panicked crowd find their backbone at once, and the big grey rats that launched the attack turned around and burrowed into the ground, but they did not leave directly, but poked their heads out and scanned something in the dark with a pair of red eyes. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The big grey rat that was shot in the head fluttered and screamed, showing that it was very tenacious. Then its limbs gradually straightened and stiffened, and there was no movement. Everyone come closer to me. Don't panic. Don't be confused. They are just a group of larger rats. There are so many of us. Don't be afraid of them. A middle-aged man without a beard, speaking very standard Chinese, was loudly directing the situation on the scene. And he, Luo Wen, had also heard Emily introduce him to Zhang Wenfeng from China. Luo, come here quickly. It's very dangerous over there. Come here quickly. The only person who could say such caring words was the beautiful stewardess who was close to Luo Wen. At this time, Emily's face was full of tension, and her eyes were scanning the panicked crowd. As a result, she was delighted to find that Luo Wen was sitting cross-legged on his sleeping net, looking at her leisurely. Snap crunch, crunch. Round stood up and jumped down the safe spot. It was Emily's good intention anyway. He couldn't say it either. He was safe here, and the rats couldn't bite him at all. In fact, even if Round restrained his breath and stood on the ground for them to bite, they would probably not be able to bite him, even if his teeth were broken. Squeak. Just then, a magical scene appeared. There were dozens of motionless people lying on the ground, and a group of big grey rats digging holes, and the survivors were confronting each other. Round walked by, and the rats seemed to sense the danger. They screamed and fled in the direction they came from. When they looked back at the corpses on the ground, they were like people, showing a reluctant look. Oh, food. Seeing this, Round basically understood why this group of big grey rats came. It was obviously the breath of the survivors and the smell of processing food that attracted this group of carnivores. Captain, we'd better form a circle and rest on the rocks here for the night. It's best not to go back to the beach over there. Huh. The survivors, still in shock, looked at the handsome young man in front of them. They were secretly wondering since daytime. This guy's not only handsome, but also agile and strong. He has a blonde beauty by his side. He also roasts golden rabbit with seasonings and finds delicious mushrooms in the bushes. Now he is unharmed, and walks past the big rat with a calm face. He even scared the rats away. Can't he be a superpower or a new human? Your name is Luo, right? I heard Emily mention you. It's thanks to you today. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to walk from the sea to the beach so quickly. My name is Jamie, and this is Zhang. You should all be from the same country, so you'll probably have a lot of common topics. Haha. The bearded white captain greeted Luo Wen enthusiastically and waved his hand to let the safety officer in front of him call on everyone to act according to Luo Wen's suggestions. Everyone listen carefully. Luo's observation is very sharp, and my idea coincides with his. Everyone sits together. Women, the elderly, and children sit in the middle, and men sit outside. No matter which direction, everyone should pay attention to observation and be alert. while let people with relatively poor physical fitness sit in the middle. It's not just because of protectionism, but because they are not strong enough. Their reaction speed and psychological quality are not enough to face emergencies. In addition to creating chaos and meaningless deaths, it is better to supervise them to avoid more trouble than success. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244. Wait until dawn. Squeak, squeak, woof, roar. As the night progressed, the stars in the sky twinkled more and more. The survivors sitting around the transition area between the beach and the cliff were severely tested physically and mentally. Every face was tense, and their eyes were scanning everywhere, fearing that the roars from afar would suddenly jump out of the darkness and kill everyone. On the beach, with the moonlight and the remaining sparks, it was vaguely seen that the group of big grey rats had returned, and their number had become more than people. They were looking for something in the sand, and there was a sharp and piercing grinding sound, as if they were biting something. Everyone was silent, and their expressions were all like the rabbit died, and the fox mourned. Obviously, they all understood that those gerbils, the big grey mice that can dig holes, were also given a new name by them. At this time, they were eating humans on the beach. The fellows who were talking and laughing before going to bed were now swallowed into the belly of the gerbils, just like the corpses buried in the sand during the day. How can people not be sad? How can they not be sad? However, they can't do anything except silent sadness. While the waves gently hit the beach, and the ground was a mess. Dozens of white skeletons, each with scattered limbs, were casually thrown on the beach. Everyone was nauseated. Let's work together and bury them with stones again. Luo Wen's mood was not so relaxed. After all, these were all living lives. Although they didn't die because of him. But, forget it, I didn't plan to take action at the beginning. What's the point of thinking about these now? The survivors, who originally wanted to fight on their own and now looked very depressed, all silently followed Luo Wen's advice, because of his extraordinariness and calmness when facing the test of life and death. Now everyone is in a very depressed mood. Facing the reasonable suggestions made by the first person, they also think it is reasonable. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun pierced through the heavy fog on the sea. Except for the sea and the sky, there were no rescue ships or whirring helicopters. Now it has been almost 24 hours since they were in distress and sent an emergency distress signal. The collective graves made of stones are full of white bones covered with rags and leaves. No matter old people or children, they all completed the burial operation together with a stone. Work together to overcome difficulties. With this understanding, everyone seems to have a deeper understanding. Jamie, Zhang Wenfeng, Wan Wu, this is the captain of the safety officers, and there is a strong young man named Li Dong elected by the passengers. He is also an outdoor enthusiast, and can climb rocks with his bare hands. Together with Luo Wen, there are 5 people in total. The first survivors meeting was held. It seems that everyone has tacitly agreed to the decision of these 5 people, to be elected as the leadership. Jamie is the captain, experienced and has the highest position. Zhang Wenfeng is the co-pilot. He was once an Air Force pilot and has received military training. Although he is not tall, only 175 centimeters, he has a calm breath and is calm in the face of things. No one dares to underestimate him. Wang Wu is easier to understand. He is broad and strong, nearly 190 centimeters tall, and has a strong tendon. However, don't be misled by his name Wang Wu. He is actually a mixed race person with brown hair and brown skin. He looks more like a Latin than a Chinese. Another Li Dong, although his name is ordinary, is the regional director of a multinational company. He is also one of the 12 guests in the first class cabin of the plane. In layman's terms, he is a typical rich and handsome man. He is 180 centimeters tall and has a healthy wheat-colored skin. Unlike Wang Wu, who looks like a weightlifting maniac, Li Dong has long arms and legs, and a very coordinated body proportion. He is both flexible and has endurance. In a restricted fight, Li Dong may be easily knocked down by Wang Wu with one punch, But if it is a life and death fight with no restrictions on venues and means, it is very likely that Li Dong will be the one who laughs last. The last one is Luo Wen, the most mysterious and handsome of the 5 leaders. He always gives people a kind of approachable feeling, but people dare not get too close to him. When he is serious, everyone can't help but obey his orders. But when he smiles like a spring breeze, everyone's heart is like the warm sun in winter, revealing joy and relaxation from the inside out. Luo, we just recounted the number of people. Our situation is not optimistic. Yesterday, there were 31 wounded and 250 survivors. Now, after one night, 23 of the 31 wounded died, and the number of healthy survivors also decreased by 25. We only have 233 people now. In just one night, 48 people were reduced, and 40 dead bodies were dug out by gerbils and gnawed into bones. The survivors who dared not leave the crowd casually felt their scalps tingling when they heard this. People did not have too many direct feelings about the plane crash and the death of the victims, or they were mentally prepared, and it was not difficult to accept it. But after eating and drinking, they lit a fire, and suddenly 48 people were bitten to death by gerbils. This has to be terrifying. What if they can't find a way to avoid the attack of gerbils before night falls tonight? Wouldn't it be a matter of days before all of them will die? What should we do? The gerbils are so small, and they ate nearly 100 people in one night. There must be more than what we saw at the beginning. If a large army launches an attack, I'm afraid we will all die on this damn island in one night. Woo, Mom, I'm scared. No, 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 I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I haven't fallen in love yet. I haven't gone home to reunite with my family yet. The mood was extremely low, and the people around began to riot. Don't panic. There are many big rocks here. We can build a wall with stones and rest on the big rocks. Gerbils can't bite the rocks. Li Dong stood up from the ground and loudly gave his proposal. Wan Wu, Jamie and Zhang Wenfeng all had their eyes lit up, thinking that his method seemed feasible. Then what are we waiting for? Let's start moving the stones? Yes, yes. Stop discussing and hold a meeting, and organize everyone to take action. The depressed mood of the survivors around was swept away by Li Dong's suggestion. Even when 3 of the big 5 focused their attention on Li Dong, Luo Wen suddenly stood up. Everyone, be quiet for a while. Moving stones and building a stone wall to meet the safety needs of our 233 people will take at least 3 days of work. Don't worry, listen to me. Heavy physical labor requires a lot of food. Otherwise, everyone will be unable to straighten their backs in half a day, let alone continuous work. But we can lean against the side of the cliff first and only build 3 walls. Of course, everyone's tasks must be arranged according to the division of labor. Today's task is not to build a wall as the main purpose, but to collect information and all available resources. Gerbils are afraid of fire, so we just need to find a solid area near the cliff as a temporary residence, send people to take turns to guard at night, and prepare enough wood, and then we can slowly build the wall. Oh. The most urgent thing is to collect enough food for everyone. Yesterday, everyone felt that food seemed to be readily available, easy and simple, but that should be, because there are few large carnivores in this area. I walked around in the morning, and found that the rabbits had almost run away. The wild seafood on the beach has also been picked up. Every time Luo Wen said a paragraph, everyone's mood was also up and down. Now suddenly reacted. Yes, just being afraid. My stomach has been rumbling with hunger. However, the problem of obtaining food seems to be really serious. Luo, what should we do now? Jamie is old and shrewd. Of course, he understands that some people only ask questions, while some people take the initiative to ask questions. In fact, they have enough confidence in their hearts to solve the problems they raise. Division of labor. Old people, children, women, go collect food, wood, men carry stones, build safe points, and send people to count the specific situation of each person. Do they have their own specialties, such as making weapons? Yes, yes, yes. We must divide different tasks according to the situation of different people. I agree with Luo Wen on this point. With a pair of triangular eyes and a big face like a pancake, Wan Wu touched the back of his head and said that he agreed with Luo Wen's statement. However, His naive performance did not look like the ruthless man who suppressed the gerbils with one shot yesterday. Chapter 245 Division of Labor. Luo Wen did not mention that everyone should elect a real boss first. Others also tacitly did not mention it. It was not that everyone was willing to sacrifice and was indifferent to the position of boss and the supreme authority of leading this group of survivors. Instead, they were testing each other and were afraid that others would not obey them. Especially when Luo Wen proposed to divide the work and take charge of different tasks, the other 4 people more or less moved their minds. Luo, according to your idea, I have summarized it. There are 233 survivors now. The 5 of us should each lead a part and then complete different tasks. This is the most efficient and the most secure. Li Dong's words. The other 3 nodded in agreement. Tell me what you think. Then I'll say it straight. Building the wall is the hardest, but also the most important, and it should be left to Jamie to do. Of course, I'm the captain, and it's my duty. Wang Wu is the aircraft safety officer, and he has a gun. He should be responsible for the safety of all survivors, and he should also be responsible for making weapons. I think Li Dong's proposal is very good, I agree. As for taking care of the wounded and doing statistical information, I think Zhang Wenfeng is the most suitable. Well, sure. Collecting supplies and information, I'm willing to recommend myself. Li Dong was not wrong about this. After all, as an outdoor sports enthusiast, he is indeed very suitable for this. However, it seems that there is only one thing left for Luo Wen, and that is the food problem. According to the calculation that one person needs to consume 1 kilogram a day, the food consumption for one day is 233 kilograms. Catching rabbits, catching fish, or picking wild vegetables, collecting wild seafood, it seems that they are all very difficult tasks to complete, right? Haha, of course. I also know that collecting food is the most difficult task, but with your ability to identify edible plants and your handsome looks, Luo Wen, you are the most suitable person to lead women. Damn, what a Li Dong. Flattering and flattering. Luo Wen also admires the observation ability and language organization ability of the person in charge of this area. As for his arrangement, is there any ulterior motive? At least on the surface, everyone thinks it is very reasonable, and Luo Wen did not think there was anything wrong. Okay, I agree, but when you build the wall later, it is best to follow this structure for the safety. Swish. Luo Wen took out a palm-sized notebook from his trouser pocket and tore off a design from it and handed it to Jamie. When did he draw the design? How do you look at it? It looks like a sketch that only professional architects can draw by hand, right? Wan Wu, with his 3 men and 6 newly recruited adult males, a total of 10 people, began to get busy in the gathering place, looking for suitable wood, and then using daggers to make weapons, such as javelins and spears, and rattan tied to stones, which could also be used as long-handled stone hammers. Jamie selected 50 adult men, both young and middle-aged, who at least looked strong and healthy. According to Rowan's drawings, they looked for a suitable safe point and began to move stones. Zhang Wenfeng moved the 8 wounded to the vicinity of the water source and recruited several clever teenagers as errand runners. Some older women and men were also given paper and pens to complete the registration and statistics. Several pregnant women and children were left with the wounded so that they could take care of each other and protect their safety. Li Dong selected some young men and women who were not suitable for heavy work, but had well-developed motor nerves and flexible minds. They were divided into 2 teams and explored the left and right sides respectively. They salvaged the suitcases and useful materials along the way and tried to salvage them on the shore. Those that were difficult to carry were marked. The men were basically picked up. The rest were ordinary people who could not do heavy physical work and were like office novices. However, Luo Wen had the most manpower, a total of 98 people, 8 men and 90 women. Even Emily and most of the flight attendants were assigned to Luo Wen. At the same time, the task of collecting wood was also assigned half of the task, which was 100 bundles, and the standard of 1 bundle was equivalent to 20 kilograms. Emily, you take all the women to collect wood, and you 8 men, follow me. No, Luo, you have to collect enough food for everyone to eat for a day. It's already 9 o'clock. You have to collect at least half of it before 12 noon. Can you 9 of you? Emily thought that Luo Wen was taking care of these unwanted women and deliberately showing off. Oh, don't worry, it's okay. Maybe I can complete the task before you. Huh. Emily wanted to ask again, but Luo Wen waved his hand and walked towards the sea with the 8 helpless chickens. Luo Wen, who carried a mountaineering bag wherever he went, looked so confident and calm. Captain, are you kidding us? Are you asking us to pick up more than 100 kilograms of kelp in the sea? The 8 chickens were somewhat lacking in confidence, but no matter their momentum or physical strength, they had no confidence to resist Luo Wen's command. Of course, which young people who grew up in modern society would be born obedient? They were neither soldiers nor obliged to obey Luo Wen. They were just forced to follow him as the captain. If they encountered danger, they would run as fast as they could. After all, the leader was the captain Luo Wen. When they really failed to deliver the mission, they would be scolded by the other captains, which would be Luo Wen's own business. Wow. Puff. Luo Wen casually put the backpack in the hand of a speechless rookie, opened the zipper, and took out an inflatable hovercraft from it. Hey, damn, a treasure bag? The 8 people rubbed their eyes, expressing some disbelief. In just 3 minutes, a 5-meter long and 2-meter wide air mattress was blown up by Luo Wen alone. With such an amazing lung capacity, Luo Wen still did not blush, his heart did not beat, and he had no adverse reactions at all. The 8 rookies were really dumbfounded. Go up, the next time you blow it up, it's up to you. Oh. At this time, what Luo Wen said undoubtedly made the 8 noobs seem a little extra obedient. It is estimated that Luo Wen's performance, that is far beyond ordinary people, made them unconsciously begin to admire him and have the confidence to complete the task. Luo Wen's air mattress, before it was inflated, was placed in a waterproof vacuum bag, about the size of a football. But after it was really inflated, let alone 9 people, even if there were another 9 people, I'm afraid they could sit in it together, and it's still a relatively loose one. Swish. Wow. Luo Wen asked each of the 8 people to take a simple paddle, which was a branch with a little width. With these 8 people rowing hard, the speed barely reached 10 km/h. Luo Wen stood at the bow, seeing that the distance from the shore was more than 100 meters, and the water below was more than 10 meters deep. He began to take off his shirt, and then his trousers. Wearing only a pair of waterproof shorts, he began to stretch on the boat. Captain, you are not going to go down to catch fish, are you? Gilu. 8 men of different images all swallowed their saliva in disbelief involuntarily, not because they had any bad ideas. After seeing Luo Wen's body, the material of this air mattress is also very strange. It is obviously very thin, but very elastic. And after being fully inflated, it feels very solid. Wait for me here, don't leave me alone. Al, don't you wear a watch? If I don't show up within 10 minutes, it's not too late for you to leave. I don't blame you. Haha, Captain, you are kidding us. We came out together, so of course we will go back together. I can promise you that I will wait for you for half an hour longer. Damn it, the tense atmosphere created with great difficulty. Luo Wen couldn't help but raise his mouth. Plop. With a dive, Luo Wen plunged into the seawater, and soon he could not see his trace in the deep sea water. Well, do you think the captain will never come back like this? Shut up your stinky mouth. We are just rowing with the captain now. It's better to wish that he is really a fishing expert, otherwise you will be exhausted if you go back to move stones. Everyone was silent for a while, and no longer dared to talk nonsense. Instead, they looked around and kept patrolling on the sea, looking forward to the captain to bring them a big surprise. Chapter 246 Return with a full load. A small flying fish jumped out of the sea, leaving a splash, and then disappeared again in the calm sea. On a yellow hovercraft, 8 focused young men began to sink involuntarily, just like the sea water under them, with no bottom in sight. Al, the captain has been down for a few minutes, why hasn't he come up yet? I say, are you crazy? You ask me every half a minute, and you take turns asking me. You don't even have 5 minutes. You catch fish in the sea with your hands. Do you think you are buying fish in the seafood market? Humph. Others were unsure, and Al, who had an inexplicable trust in Luo Wen, was also very worried. What if no, no, the captain is so confident. There can't be a what if. Wow. Ah. A huge fish face suddenly broke through the sea surface and appeared in front of the uneasy crowd. Several rookies almost screamed out and raised the paddles in their hands into the air. As a result, they found that the captain with short hair and handsome face also floated out of the sea. Captain, can you please stop making such boring jokes? We are almost ready to row away. Haha, everyone was in a very happy mood, with a kind of trusted to the wrong person happiness in their hearts. Looking at Luo Wen with a weird expression on his face, their eyes gradually showed respect and admiration. It only took 5 minutes to catch a big fish from the bottom of the sea. With this size, I'm afraid they seem to have completed today's task. Although Luo Wen also wanted to join them in the fun, he couldn't laugh because he found a gerbil on the bottom of the sea. Who would dare to believe that the mouse was catching fish? Luo Wen originally planned to find some fish that were not so exaggerated nearby, such as a size of more than 10 kilograms, which would also make it easier for him to explain to the survivors. As a result, he had to use his divine thoughts and then performed the water escape technique underwater. From the deep sea several kilometers away, he brought back this 500 kilogram bluefin tuna with the destroying god technique. Oh my god, Captain, this fish looks like a bluefin tuna, doesn't it? Oh, it really is. I bought a piece of tuna sushi at a sushi restaurant a few days ago to try it. But, this big one, I'm afraid it can break the world record, right? Wow, slurp, such a big bluefin tuna, I haven't tasted it in my life. I heard that this kind of fish is sold by gram. Is it true? Well, if this fish is sold in the market, it will be worth at least $1 million. Oh my god, it's so expensive. From yesterday to today, although everyone has experienced a plane crash and a terrifying gerbil attack, they are always shrouded in the shadow of food shortage and life threats. However, after Luo Wen brought back a big fish alone, the 8 noobs were undoubtedly crazy about their captain at this moment, and they were full of confidence and hope for their future life. They secretly decided in their hearts that they would only follow Luo's lead in the future. If he told them to go east, they would never go west. If he said he would blow air, he would promise not to fart. Hey, Captain, tell us, how did you catch such a big bluefin tuna with your bare hands? Hey, except for the number 1 fanboy Al, the noobs were rowing hard, and they were paying close attention to Luo Wen with their ears erect. Crack, do you see this? A high voltage electric shock gun, specially prepared for underwater electric shock fishing. You are kidding me, seawater is conductive. Besides, he was wearing only a pair of waterproof shorts with his bare hands. When did he bring the electric shock gun? He just took it out of his bag to fool us. Besides, even if there is an electric shock gun, I have never heard that humans can swim faster than bluefin tuna, right? Superman. Our captain is Superman. Haha, we will have everything in the future. We are sure to have this big leg. Captain, just give us a positive answer. Yes or no will do. A. You are not an ordinary person. No. Yeah, boss, you must take care of me in the future. I will follow you in the future. Emoji. What the hell? Yes. From today on, Boss Luo is the boss of the few of us. We will do whatever he tells us to do. I just went down for a few minutes. How come the relationship between you guys has become so close? Could this be the legendary League of the Losers? Okay, I know you are loyal. Let's go back first and see how the other team is doing with their wood collection. Boss, don't worry. There is wood everywhere on the shore. It only takes 10 minutes for one person to pick it up. Even if they go a little far, they may have walked back now. Hey, boss, do you like Emily? Do you want us to help you take her down as soon as possible? This group of brothers probably can't be so shameless outside, but the change of environment can really easily change a person's temperament, and it's the kind that you don't have to choose. Of course, it may also be that Luo Wen is really easy to talk to and very powerful, so this group of brothers may bow down to him. The yellow hovercraft, when they went, everyone looked helpless. When they came back, not only was there a huge thing in the sea, a 500 kilogram bluefin tuna, but they also had smiles on their faces and rowed very hard. Without Luo Wen saying anything, they had already used all their strength. Why did they hang the fish on the stern? Aren't they afraid of sharks? With these few hairy guys, it is impossible to get it on the boat. The key is why they got it on the boat. With Luo Wen here, sharks dare to come, and everyone can taste the taste of fresh shark fins. Wow, Emily, look, your Luo is on the sea. Hey, where did they get the hovercraft? A beautiful Eastern European beauty with burgundy hair and simple braids tied with a hair rope, wearing a short skirt, showing 2 plump long legs, and a surging upper body, which is an attractive white. At this time, Emily was shouting at the wood, and then suddenly realized, why did the few people who went out to sea empty-handed now row on the hovercraft? Julia, he is not my boyfriend. I'm just curious about him. Don't say anything nonsense. Curiosity means love. What's there to be shy about? If you don't dare to confess, then I will go to Luo tonight to talk about life ideals. How about it? Bold and unrestrained, although there are introverted Western girls, but more are red-haired girls like this. If you like someone, you want to have sex, not to mention that your life may be in danger at any time. If you don't know how to enjoy it in time, it will be too late to regret it. Why do you always talk about this kind of thing? Can't you be more subtle and find someone to fall in love with first? TSK, where do I have time to fall in love now? Besides, Luo is so handsome and an excellent man who is always the focus of others wherever he goes. I don't know how many people are willing to communicate with him. Emily's face was a little hot, and she turned her head. The women around her pointed at Luo Wen on the sea, with undisguised eagerness in their eyes. As a woman, she seemed to understand something instantly. Humph, I just like him. Luo was the first one I saw. If you want to snatch him, you have to get past me first. Haha. Emily, I knew that with your personality, you need someone to help you. Otherwise, I'll go and remind Luo later. Otherwise, judging from his intentions, I'm afraid it's difficult for him to take the initiative to find you first. Chapter 247, Lack of Medical Care in Medicine. The plane crashed on the deserted island. Food, water, and safe shelter, these are the 3 most important factors. The water problem, with that spring, has been temporarily solved. As for the food problem, since Luo Wen promised it personally, it is naturally not a problem. After all, the extremely dangerous jungle or the boundless deep sea are full of natural food sources for Luo Wen. Perhaps, as time goes by, we can raise some herbivores and grow some crops so that a large number of manpower can be freed from the tedious work of collecting food and do more other work. As for a safe residence, we can temporarily build a stone fort to avoid the attacks of those ferocious beasts. As for the comfort and privacy issues, we can consider them slowly in the future. The only thing is that the current wounded and the survivors who may get sick in the future, the isolated island on the sea, all kinds of unknown situations may happen. Everything must be prepared in advance. Medicine has become the most urgent need at the moment. Of course, there should be medical practitioners among the survivors, and they probably have common sense in treating patients and saving lives. Luo Wen will also find a way to collect some medicinal materials in the jungle, so that these civilized people who grew up in modern society can experience the true charm of Chinese medicine. As for alchemy, it depends on the specific situation. Otherwise, there are too many supernatural abilities displayed at one time. If all the survivors rely on Luo Wen alone, he will also find it troublesome. Hey near the spring, except for some wounded lying on the ground, wrapped in gauze, unable to get up and move. Those subordinates belonging to Zhang Wenfeng also began to join Jamie's wall building team at this time. And Wang Wu has already looked like a real person, with a pistol on his waist, and with 3 other security guards. He directed 6 specially selected subordinates to make weapons. And his pair of honest and harmless eyes when facing Luo Wen, at this time, can't help but sweep over those women, who are suddenly exposed. As for Li Dang, he hadn't come back yet. After all, when Luo Wen returned with the 8 rookies, less than half an hour had passed. If it weren't for the big fish he was dragging, Luo Wen would have walked on the beach faster. There's a boat, look where it is. Across the beach, 100 meters away, the people who were carrying stones saw a hovercraft appear on the sea from a distance. They thought someone was coming to rescue them, and they all cheered and ran to the beach and waved. There's a boat. Zhang Wenfeng, Wan Wu, and even Jamie all stopped what they were doing, looked up at the glittering sea under the sun. Don't go. The person above is a Luo. He is back from fishing, not a rescuer from outside. At this time, a group of women, some carrying wood, walked back from the beach on the left. Compared with rocks and grass, the flat beach is naturally more convenient to walk. Although there is still the shadow of the gerbil attack yesterday, it is broad daylight, and those gerbils that are afraid of fire should be nocturnal animals. In addition, in the daytime with guaranteed vision, everyone's courage has become a little bigger. Luo? It seems to be Luo Wen. How come he has an air cushion boat? No, didn't he take people to collect food? Why did he come back so soon? Everyone stopped, feeling lost in their hearts, and expressed doubts and confusion in their mouths. Hey, come back and continue moving stones. No matter what, we have to complete the construction of at least one wall today. We are in a hurry. Seeing that it was not rescue, the life and death crisis was still there. Zhang Wenfeng and Jamie began to call the crowd back to work. Wow, shua, look, what are they pulling? Luo Wen and his men, or brothers, first moved sideways from the coast, dragged the big fish to the front of the safe point, and then accelerated to the beach together, making sure to drag the big fish to a closer position on the beach. Otherwise the 500-pound fish would have to be pulled up by brute force. But the rope was stretched straight, and the yellow hovercraft was less than 5 meters away from the beach. Hurry, go down and pull it. Al took the lead, although he was thin, but his spirit was very high. Shua hua 1, 2, 3, pull it. 1, 2, 3, pull it. Without waiting for Luo Wen to come forward to help, the group of sensible brothers had already pulled the rope, and began to walk towards the shore with deep footprints. Beach, waves, 8 men. If they still can't pull it, they might as well find a rock and smash it to death. At 10 o'clock in the morning, there was too much fish blood, and everyone had no shortage of drinking water, so they could only let it flow back into the sea along the beach. Puff bleeding, taking the meat. Al, who was smiling, regarded himself as Rowan's #1 younger brother, standing next to Emily flatteringly, introducing her to his boss's bravery, while greeting the women, and Mog who was cutting the fish meat. Hurry up and smoke the meat, otherwise the fish meat will not be fresh. At noon, the temperature was over 30 degrees, and there were those annoying flies. The fish meat that could not be eaten today must be handled properly, otherwise any waste of food would be a great disrespect for one's own life. As for Mog who was dismembering the big fish, and the other 6 busy chickens, where did the daggers in their hands come from? Rowan took out 2 handfuls from his backpack. It would be hard to explain if he had more. The others were sent by Captain Jamie. Rowan, did you really catch such a big fish by yourself? Emily walked to Rowan's side. She didn't feel disgusted by the gutted fish. Instead, her eyes were full of curiosity and amazement about Rowan's true strength. You didn't eat anything this morning, right? How about grilling some fresh tuna for you? Rowan changed the subject, and such behavior was tantamount to tacit consent. This was also good. In order to more conveniently ensure the safety of the survivors in the future, the necessary strength and means also needed to be demonstrated, so as to prevent those with ulterior motives from being bold and reckless, and thinking of using fists and force, to realize their ambitions of power and desire. Isn't tuna the most delicious sashimi? Besides, no one is eating. If we only care about ourselves, won't it be bad? Oh, the crowd of onlookers around said that the combination of handsome men and beautiful women was very enviable and desirable. Besides, the fish was caught by Luo Wen, and it can at least meet the needs of 2 days. As the leader of the food collection team, there is nothing wrong with him eating some first. Well, what you said makes sense. Then I will go catch a rabbit. Don't touch the fish here. Only by setting an example can everyone be strict with themselves. Not only did Luo Wen not continue to walk towards the people who were cutting the fish, even Mog, who chose the best piece of fish, awkwardly handed the fish to the team that transported the fish, saying that he didn't understand why the powerful boss was so strict with himself. Oh, setting an example. It seems that we have to pay special attention when working with him in the future. He Thank you, Luo. Oh no, oh no, Hill's leg wound has worsened. Now Dr. Mike said that she can only be amputated, otherwise Hill can only wait to die. Julia, the beautiful stewardess with burgundy hair who has a good relationship with Emily, ran to Emily's side in a hurry. The Hill she was talking about in a panic was the stewardess whose calf was pierced by the wreckage of the plane. She was also a private friend of the two of them. What should we do now? If Hill loses a leg, she will definitely go crazy. Besides, there are no medical equipment or medicines here. How can we perform an amputation surgery? As Emily said this, her mood, which was very happy just now, was immediately cloudy. She was about to cry, but her eyes were red, and it was estimated that she would soon cry. Don't worry, I will go with you to see. Maybe there is still hope. Really? Luo, you must help us save Hill. We don't want to lose her. Chapter 248 Miraculous Medical Skills. A rotten stench spread into the air along the blackened calf that had been unwrapped. A gay middle-aged man with brown curly hair was wearing disposable medical gloves and carefully observing the overall condition of the diseased tissue with a pick. We can't wait any longer. If we don't amputate, not only will we lose this leg, but we will also lose a life. No, doctor, can you please think of other ways? I don't want to lose my leg. There's not even any anesthetic on an island like this. I'll die of pain. Hill was a very petite flaxen-haired beautiful woman wearing a standard short skirt with a white sheet covering it, probably to prevent her from exposing herself. Compared to the average flight attendant team of over 170 centimeters tall, her height of less than 170 centimeters and her slender figure should be more in line with the aesthetics of Asians. However, the leg injury in the past 2 days, as well as the pain and the harsh environment, made her pretty face pale at this time, and her big amber pupils were full of fear of the upcoming amputation. I don't want to perform such a high-risk amputation operation under such simple conditions, but for your life, we must try. The middle-aged man looked embarrassed, and he couldn't bear the patient's pain. But as a doctor, life is above all else. Amputation is now the only way. Make way, Dr. Mike, don't do it first, let Luo take a look first. The middle-aged doctor has taken out medical alcohol and a saw rope. Of course, there is no professional bone saw in the emergency medical kit. Although the saw rope is less efficient, it is better than chopping directly with a fire axe, right? Luo, I know you are the head of the food team now, but as a surgeon who has been engaged in the medical industry for many years, there is no better choice for Hill's leg except amputation. The middle-aged man prepared for the operation, and Hill's aorta was tied up with a rubber tube above the knee. At this time, facing Luo Wen who suddenly intervened, he was also a little anxious. As a professional, the most feared thing is the misunderstanding of ordinary people and the non-cooperation of patients. After all, doctors can only account for 5 factors in seeing a doctor and saving lives. The effectiveness of the treatment depends on the active cooperation of the patients and the careful care of their families. At this time, not only the women who transported fish and meat, but also the men who built the shelter, gathered around the temporary medical tent beside the spring. It was called a tent, but it was actually a small house more than 1 meter high surrounded by the wreckage of the aircraft shell and some rags. Not to mention, that light leaked everywhere. If a child was not careful, it would probably be pushed down. Luo, let Mike perform the operation quickly, otherwise if we delay any longer Hill's life will be reduced by 1 point. Captain Jamie, who has always been friendly and honest, also came out to smooth things over. It seems that, because of the big fish on the beach, all the survivors now have more respect and fear for Luo Wen, who is not judged by appearance, instead of the previous curiosity and suspicion. Luo Wen, Hill is our flight attendant, and we will not think of harming her. If we don't amputate now, there is basically no possibility of survival. This is already a desperate measure, there is no other way. As a Chinese, Zhang Wenfeng's attitude towards Luo Wen is undoubtedly more friendly. Maybe he thinks that the handsome young man in front of him is also a Chinese fellow countryman. I don't want to amputate. I don't want to die. Emily, Julia. Woo. After a violent emotional fluctuation, coupled with the infection of the wound, Hill began to be somewhat unconscious. He just held the palms of his 2 good friends and tried hard, as if he was seeking their final help. Run, it's bad. Hill has fainted. Think of a solution. Alas, everyone wants to save Hill's life. Mike, you are a doctor. Your first priority is to save people. You may also be under great psychological pressure due to the risk of amputation. However, I want to help her keep her legs while saving her life using my own method. What does this mean? Could Hill's legs still be saved? Wow. Rowan took his mountaineering bag from Al's hand, then unzipped it, and took out a crystal clear emerald bottle from it. Don't worry, if I can't save her life, I'm willing to accept your judgment. Mike's expression changed for a while, but he didn't insist anymore, but gave up the middle position, because he didn't even have one layer of confidence in this amputation operation. Instead of stalemate with Rowan, the captain who performed exceptionally well, it would be better to give him face and let him bear all the pressure. Bang. Pulling out the cork. Under the confused gazes of the crowd, Luo Wen poured out a fragrant green pill from the bottle. Its size is no different from that of ordinary chocolate beans. Under the puzzled gazes of the crowd, Luo Wen walked to the lying Hill and pinched her nose with one hand. The tall white nose bridge was quite convenient, and Hill, who was fuzzy, opened her mouth unconsciously. How it was a bit fishy, and the tongue coating was a bit dull, without the vivid color. He put the pill into her mouth, then helped her close her jaws, and loosened the hand that was pinching her nose. Gurgle. Under the natural swallowing reaction of the body, the pill was swallowed into Hill's stomach. Hiss. Luo. His pills, just looking at the appearance, seem to be very good. Is this the magic pill that Oriental people talk about? Wow. Luo Wen had already stood up and put the jade bottle back into the backpack held by his younger brother Al. The loyal #1 fan was looking at his boss with an extremely admiring look and zipped up the bag at a very fast speed, fearing that the crowd would snatch the treasure backpack from his hands. Luo, is that all? Yes, she will be better in a few minutes. Wait a little longer. Mike, Jamie, Zhang Wenfeng and others were all surprised. It's a fantasy. Does he really think he is a god? Isn't he trampling on the IQ of all of us? Even if he caught enough big fish for everyone to eat for 2 days, this operation, which was related to curing diseases and saving lives, was obviously contrary to scientific common sense, and still caused a commotion among the people around him. They almost asked Luo Wen what tricks he was playing. Wake up, wake up, Hill is awake. What's wrong with you? Why are you all looking at me here? Hill was clear-headed, and no longer weak and powerless when she spoke. Hill blinked her long eyelashes, and her charming eyes were full of confusion and puzzlement. She seemed to have forgotten that she was begging the doctor before she fainted. Everyone was not looking at Hill, but at her legs. They were delicate and straight, and most importantly, they were very white. However, to be precise, her injured leg, which was originally black, rotten and smelly, was constantly wriggling and changing at a speed visible to the naked eye, as if some creature inside was growing and breaking out of the cocoon. Oh, my legs, they are so itchy and numb. The bone-breaking and flesh-growing pill is not a high-grade mortal pill, and the required medicinal materials are all ordinary Chinese herbal medicines. It's not as magical as the 9-transformation soul-restoring pill, and it is even more impossible to have the magical effects of the foundation-building pill and the evil surviving pill. It's just that Luo Wen used spiritual fire to refine it, and incorporated his own healing technique spiritual power into the pill, so the bone-breaking and flesh-growing pill has the magical performance that blinds everyone's eyes today. Oh, God, this is incredible, isn't it? Isn't it that after just eating one pill, those rotten muscles, even the skin began to grow back? Luo, what you just gave Hill, is it the immortal pill in your Eastern mythology? The crowd around them, before they could even utter a word to question Luo Wen, were slapped in the face by the miracle that happened to Hill in just a few minutes. Now even Wan Wu, Jamie, and Zhang Wenfeng were staring at Luo Wen and the black mountaineering bag that was tightly held in Al's arms with fiery eyes. Okay, Hill is fine now, everyone continue with your work. Haha. Luo Wen waved his hand, his face nonchalant, as if what just happened was not worth mentioning. With his little brothers, a group of arrogant people, like a proud rooster who just slept with a hen, walked towards the big fish skeleton on the beach. The meat can be eaten, and the fish bones certainly have uses, and they can't be wasted. Hey, Luo, can you explain it to us? Yes, those pills. Can they cure all injuries? Chapter 249 Differentiation. Boss, what should we do now? Luo Wen is obviously not an ordinary passenger. With the 4 guns and 20 bullets in our hands, we can't control so many survivors. The chaotic crowd started their own work again, but Wang Wu and his 3 security subordinates walked to the empty corner with gloomy faces, looking at the handsome young man who was the moon surrounded by stars and everyone's attention, but the expressions on their faces were very complicated. Why are there only 20 bullets? It was because of the sudden attack of the gerbil last night. This made the 4 people holding the hot weapons less and less confident in controlling the situation. A person can catch more than 500 kilograms of bluefin tuna alone in the deep sea. He also has an incomparable magical elixir on his body. The key is the group of loyal little brothers and women around him. Okay, let's give up the plan we discussed before. We are still nominal security guards and still accept Jamie's command. We must pull those new members into our small team as soon as possible. No matter what, we will have a long time in this ghost place in the future. Let time decide everything. Wang Wu's eyes at this time, except for shrewdness and cruelty, where is the honest and harmless feeling he gave before? Luo Wen, can I talk to you about something? Amidst the exclamations, Luo Wen cut off another 10 kilograms of fish meat from the skeleton, like butchering an ox. At this time, the white fish bones had no residual food value. In the surprised eyes of the women and 8 younger brothers, Luo Wen just looked at the whole fish skeleton with his eyes, thinking about how to make the most of this huge skeleton, and did not have the time to pay attention to the praise and admiration of the crowd. In his storage space, the supplies are extremely limited, and most of them are not food, but those ultra-precision tools and black technology products. After all, Luo Wen has reached the state of Dagu, and some spare living supplies in it are just for others for temporary emergency use. There are more than 200 people in this survivor camp, and the other half, although I don't know why they haven't come together until now. However, it is impossible to meet the survival needs of so many people. At this time, Zhang Wenfeng came over with a serious face. As the captain responsible for logistics statistics and taking care of the wounded, Zhang Wenfeng is doing a good job so far. Unlike Jamie, as the captain responsible for the construction of the shelter, he let his men waste time everywhere because of a little movement. I'm afraid that before dark today, they will not be able to successfully complete the scheduled 1/3 of the workload. Zhang Wenfeng spent the morning collecting and counting the basic information of all 233 survivors. He also gathered all the materials that could be collected on the coastline to the open space next to the water source. The wreckage of the plane has disappeared. I don't know if it was because the waves were too big at night, or it was dragged away by some unknown creature. Of course, I will deal with this fish skeleton when I come back. Don't let anyone dismantle it at will. Don't worry, boss, leave it to me here. Bang bang. Al patted his chest, which didn't have much muscle, with a face that promised to complete the task. The other young men also gave Luo Wen a reassuring look. Luo Wen glanced from a distance and saw the female team members who were placing smoked meat on the drying field. They were laughing and orderly and did not affect the progress of the overall work because of slackness. Then he and Zhang Wenfeng walked towards the direction of the deserted beach, using the waves and the open space to create a temporary conversation environment. Wow shua shasha. In addition to the white waves, the crabs holding their claws were hit. They were lucky today. The big fish that Luo Wen dragged back temporarily saved them from the fate of being eaten by humans. There was not much meat, so it took some effort to catch them, and it was also troublesome to eat them. Anyway, Luo Wen was somewhat reluctant to choose to eat them. Captain Zhang, what do you want to talk to me about? Just like Luo Wen was called Captain Luo by most of the survivors, everyone also temporarily accepted their new social identity and status in this group. Luo Wen, you should be Chinese, right? I heard you speak Chinese. You don't sound like a foreigner at all. Although Zhang Wenfeng has a better reputation than Jamie and the entire crew, at least he doesn't mess around with men and women. But whether it is the United Airlines with a foreign background, or because of his Chinese identity, Jamie is the captain, and Zhang Wenfeng is just a co-pilot. Wang Wu was willing to obey the captain because of emergency avoidance, otherwise they would be equal colleagues. In the end, Zhang Wenfeng, who is introverted, has excellent skills and reliable character, but now he is actually the marginal figure with the least power and dispensable importance among several captains. So he needs allies to maintain his current leadership position among the survivors, and Luo Wen, who is also a Chinese, is undoubtedly the most suitable ally. At least he is not like Li Dong, who is so arrogant and eager to show off. The key is that Li Dong is already a foreign national. Zhang Wenfeng, who is very traditional in his bones, actually looks down on people like Li Dong. Oh, Captain Zhang, are you here in person to register my identity? Oh, so be it. The ease on Luo Wen's face, as well as the approachable aura he exuded, immediately reassured Zhang Wenfeng, who was a little worried. It seems that my judgment is right again this time. Phew, go, you are lucky. Otherwise, if we were here at night, who knows how many more people would die. Li Dong, who was panting and in good shape, was leading the way, leading a group of panicked and embarrassed survivors, running towards their camp, as if there was something chasing them from behind. Captain Li, thank you so much today. If you hadn't set fire to the side to save us, 100 people, might have really died there. Lang Maolin, who was still in shock, regretted his decision at the beginning. He originally thought that he could easily find survivors along the coastline and discuss asking for help together. Who would have thought that along the way, there were groups of horned cattle and argali, which made them exclaim that this barren land was rich in resources. But when the saber-toothed tiger, giant crocodile, and swamp anaconda launched a cold-blooded and ruthless attack, when Lan Maolin set out, hundreds of people were directly reduced by more than half. Finally, they were surrounded by a group of hyenas similar to hyenas, but much larger in size. When they were pressing step by step on a hill, fortunately, Li Dong happened to arrive when he went out to explore the map. Li Dong is indeed a man of quick mind. He is ambitious, but he remained calm in the face of danger. He immediately thought of the fire attack. The dense dead branches and weeds around the hills also allowed his plan to proceed smoothly. When the fire was burning, the hyenas were panicking and roaring. Li Dong spread out his men, each holding a makeshift drumstick, which was 2 wooden sticks, and kept beating and harassing around, finally tearing open the encirclement of the hyenas. Lang Maolin was also a man who acted decisively. He led a group of survivors in economy class, like a mad dog going down the mountain. It was impossible not to be crazy. After all, they were forced to the brink of life and death. Anyone who ran slower would either be killed by hyenas or burned to death by the mountain fire. Under the rising sun, the entire temporary camp of the survivors soon welcomed the addition of this group of fresh troops. Hungry and frightened, they probably couldn't muster up the energy and motivation today. Zhang Wenfeng had to take out the stock of bacon that had been allocated so that these survivors who came empty-handed could fill their stomachs. Jamie and Wang Wu, who were originally the strongest team, were now seriously challenged because they were all adult men, so their combat effectiveness and strength were naturally the strongest. However, the expanded reconnaissance team with a mixture of men and women was afraid that once these newcomers recovered, they would probably compete for the title of the 1st Brigade. Luo Wen, who had no other battle performance, could only be ranked 3rd for the time being, because Li Dong conquered Lan Maolin and his group, and instantly made the originally small reconnaissance team surpass Luo Wen's collection team in terms of both the number of men and the total number of people, becoming the 2nd largest force. Finally, Zhang Wenfeng, although he came back after talking with Luo Wen on the beach, he did not follow Luo Wen's lead. Unlike Wang Wu, he still maintained the independence of the logistics team. It's just that Luo Wen treated the wounded one after another, and among the new survivors, there were also those old and weak people who were not suitable for heavy physical labor. Zhang Wenfeng was also the captain in charge of dozens of people, the same number as Jamie's construction team, but the quality of the personnel was too much worse. And Lan Maolin didn't know why he didn't mention the people left behind in their disaster point at the first time. Maybe in his opinion, the food in this survivor camp was not enough for the people here. Bringing those old, weak, sick and disabled people here would simply increase the burden of everyone, and they might have been eaten by bloodthirsty beasts. If a man doesn't work for himself, he will be punished by heaven and earth. At this time, everyone has to consider their own lives and future. Even if before yesterday, everyone was a civilized person in a civilized society, but after experiencing a night of life and death test, their attitudes and ideas have undergone a shocking change. The law of the jungle, the strong prey on the weak, and the fittest survive, isn't it? Chapter 250 Personnel Summary. TSK, 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 life is like a dream. I have never tasted such delicious food in my life, but I can eat it in this environment today. Wow. Delicious. Really delicious. Many people, like Lan Maolin, are sighing at the differences and changes in life situations. While eating the grilled fish on the branches, they express their true thoughts. In order to avoid unnecessary non-combat casualties, the sashimi, the healthiest and most nutritious way to eat, was proposed to be banned by the 5-man meeting. The 5-man meeting is the collective name of the highest decision-making level of the survivors. The 5 people have the credibility that everyone believes in. If the survivors want to survive and wait for rescue from the outside world, it is also the most reasonable strategy to keep each other warm. Jamie, the construction team, has 50 adult men under his command, and the security team of 10 people, Captain Wang Wu, seems to be equivalent to his squad, willing to obey Jamie's command and orders, a total of 60 people. Li Dong of the scouting team and Lan Maolin, the deputy captain, should be the means used by Li Dong to win people's hearts. It was just a 5-person meeting. Although Li Dong's appointment of Lan Maolin was tacitly accepted, Lan Maolin did not have the right to vote in the meeting, but only the right to attend and propose. The two of them have a total of 118 people, half of them are men and half are women. Although their body size and physical fitness cannot be compared with the big guys in the construction team, the number of personnel is almost twice that of the construction team. Once Li Dong and Lan Maolin are familiar with their subordinates and have complete control, I'm afraid that the title of 1st Brigade will change. The captain of the food collection team is Luo Wen, a person who hides his identity and crosses time and space. Of course, he now claims to be a Chinese who has lived in the mountains since he was a child and only knows a few things. He didn't expect that such a thing would happen when he went abroad for the first time to gain experience. In addition to the 8 subjugated male subordinates and the 90-man women's army, the combat effectiveness is obviously not the opponent of the reconnaissance team and the construction team. Even the logistics team after the supplement can compete with his team. However, apart from trying to win over Luo Wen, everyone did not release any malice towards him or harass the women under his command, because among the several teams, food collection is the top priority that concerns everyone's life and death. Another logistics team at the end, Captain Zhang Wenfeng, seems to have a close relationship with Luo Wen, but there is no direct alliance. There are 61 people under his command, including the elderly and the weak, and pregnant women who cannot engage in heavy physical labor. In fact, the elderly and the weak are not really old and weak, at least they have half the labor force of adults. In the end, the number of all the survivors was counted together, a total of 343 people. It is equivalent to the survivors, who have returned to a state not much better than yesterday, after receiving personnel supplements today. There are 343 people in total, which means 343 mouths to feed. The daily food consumption needs at least 343 kilograms. It cannot be guaranteed that everyone will be equally distributed. Some people cannot eat, and some people do not have enough to eat. It is just for the convenience of data statistics. At least Luo Wen, the captain of the food collection team, has been assigned tasks, and he will implement them according to this standard every day in the future. Luo Wen estimated the total weight of bluefin tuna by his own feel, and it was about 512.4 kilograms. After removing the internal organs, fish bones, and collecting the fish meat, he finally weighed it with a tensile weighing instrument, and the total weight was 413 kilograms. Once the fish meat is roasted, especially the new members who have gone through hardships and dangers, they are in urgent need of food and energy supplements. Just the consumption of a meal at noon, Zhang Wenfeng felt a pain in his flesh, and his mouth was a little bitter. Because the stock placed in the food warehouse is less than 100 kilograms, not because more than 300 kilograms were eaten at noon, but because these are all bacon. I'm afraid that everyone will not be indulged, like at noon for a meal in the evening. Crunch, crunch. The sunlight at noon is very poisonous. As long as it shines directly on the place, it will make people's skin feel hot like needles. Men, women, children, or captains, after eating and drinking, are a little listless. They find the shade of trees and the cool places under the rock walls, leaning or lying, resting, recuperating, and continuing the afternoon work tasks. The size of the entire camp occupies nearly 1,000 square meters of space. The closer to the water source, the denser the people, because it is most convenient to drink water here, and there are the most cool places. Luo Wen walked on the periphery of the entire camp, his eyes constantly looking out, just like a patrolman who dared not be careless. That's right, Wan Wu and his 10-man team have their own formal job responsibilities at this time. They don't have to participate in labor or building walls, but patrolling and guarding, protecting the safety of survivors. This is their full-time job and mission. System, you really gave me a big problem? Luo Wen, who was thinking silently, gradually went to the north of the coastline, and the consciousness he released was constantly detecting all the movements within the limit of 800 meters. There is no penalty for failure in this system task, but the reward is related to the number of survivors 3 years later. Hey, wait, if this place is built into a paradise, and those men and women naturally begin to reproduce, will the newborns be counted as the number of new survivors? The basic element of human survival are food and water, and then extending to safety and health. On this small island, the ratio of men to women is basically equal, and even because women are born with better physical functions and potential than men, the number of women is actually slightly more than that of men. It's not about strength and physical fitness, but it means that in the crisis of a plane crash, women with smaller bodies and less physical consumption seem to be more likely to survive. It's just that in dealing with the environment and the long-term test of survival ability, women are no match for men. Otherwise it wouldn't be that most of the deaths in a gerbil invasion would be women. Let's not talk about the differences between men and women. Luo Wen thought that, even if it was a barren island, once the survival crisis was resolved, and a livable environment was created for everyone, would men and women begin to release other biological instincts? Just like all the creatures in the renewable nature, they use reproduction to continue the memory and life of their own race. Today is only the second day. 3 years is long and short, but for men and women, as long as they are willing to work hard, it is enough to get pregnant and give birth to 3 babies in succession. Doesn't this double the total number of survivors? Haha, but, I'm such a clever guy. Luo Wen, who secretly thought that he had figured out the key to the problem, looked relaxed and carefree, and strode back to the camp. As for the gerbils that were still foraging in the sea along the way, he casually released the god-killing technique and strangled their souls and consciousness. They turned directly into brain-dead bodies, floating on the blue sea, quietly waiting to be swallowed by the sea. However, on the beach 10 kilometers to the north, the heat, dehydration, and lack of food made the survivors and wounded who were originally struggling to support themselves suffer a fatal test. They firmly believed that Lan Maolin would bring a large force to rescue them, but except for the gradual cessation of the low groaning of the wounded, they saw nothing except choking and silent sobbing. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.